You're taking out their most played battleship. You're taking out the smokescreen from the Haragumo. And then Kleber and Gdansk are those two very fast rotational destroyers that I think Rain tends to lean into a lot.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it definitely makes sense to take them away. How about the Rain bans back?
So the Moskva is not banned at all.
No.
Yep.
That's the interesting one. I think Petro, Napo, Brisbane, and Marceau are the bans out of Rain. I would say these are fairly standard and I guess to be expected bans. I think both teams kind of banned their comfort picks in that sense, where they banned what they wanted to in general. I think the Libertad ban in particular from Oh Boy is actually a targeted one, because we have seen Rain play the ship whenever they can, basically. It is their most played ship, which is a battleship of all things.
Really?
It has, I think, 18 appearances before semifinals. I haven't had a chance to look at the semifinals data yet, but before semis, it was their most picked ship.
Yeah,
So-
and for a battleship to be the most picked ship, you basically have to be picking two of them every match.
Yeah.
So
True.
it definitely makes sense to ban it out here.
The Napoli ban, however, is coming from Rain as well. Nonetheless, we've seen Rain use the Napoli quite often as well, but they decided to ban it this time because maybe they just don't want to deal with it. And also, you mentioned the Marceau being a farming platform against the Stalingrad or a Moskva. The Marceau is banned as well from Rain.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the Napoli being banned could be a signal that Rain wants to play their kind of lighter compositions with more destroyers and focus on the rotational play. In terms of the maps that we'll be playing on, we have Hotspot, Sleeping Giant, North, Warrior's Path, and Trap. So again, we've seen, I think, all these maps at this point. Hotspot we haven't seen, I think, since last weekend, so it'll be nice to see that again. With that 4-cap layout, teams spawning in the far east having to move towards the home caps if they want to try some kind of aggressive push. Sleeping Giant, again, we've talked about this a lot at this point. I don't think we need to go over it too much now, but just a good reminder that it does feature a lot of traditional gameplay. North, we actually just managed to watch with Tifot versus Oh Boy, a map that a lot of teams are familiar with, but with a new cap layout. So kind of requires a little bit of adjusting of strategy there.
remind me, is this also where Rain beat TWA?
That would be on the next map.
Of course, fair enough.
Yeah, I think the TWA Rain match was, I think, Land of Fire into Warrior's Path.
Right, they haven't
Yes.
played North. I understand, my bad.
So I'm excited to see what Rain will bring to North.
Yes.
I think this might be an interesting map to watch them on if they bring some of those lighter compositions. Warrior's Path, we actually just managed to see a game on as well.
And Trap.
I think, yep. And then Trap with, I think Trap actually might be one of my favorite maps to watch so far.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because of the map layout, I would say.
Yeah, I think the home cap layout paired with the open water gameplay in A cap makes for a really interesting kind of dichotomy with how teams will choose to play this map. So I'm hoping we go to a game 5 here, but we'll have to see. Thoughts on the matchup?
I'm obviously fairly biased towards Rain, so I would expect them to win here. I would say it's going to be maybe close. I would say 3-1 probably. It's, I think, important to also note that both of these teams in the semis did not go flawless.
Yep.
It was both sides went 3-1. So Oh Boy won 3-1 over Tivat and Rain won 3-1 over Resin. They both lost their third game and won the fourth to clinch the series. With that being said, I think both of these teams have prepared a lot. I'm sure they know exactly how the enemy composition is going to be built, what it's going to be built around as well. So I'm expecting to see something that they have maybe as a pocket strat, which they haven't shown yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that, and we have seen as well, the Gdansk plus Svea strats from Rain.
Yep.
These two ships are not restricted in this with the ship bans from both teams, which means that that is still on the table. The Libertad is the other core element of that composition, which is banned, but I'm sure they can replace it with a Schlieffen and a Colombo or something like that.
And we've also seen Rain be pretty willing to bring out those like crazy battleship picks, like the Bungo, for example, as a specific counter pick versus the Petro. So may not be seeing that this series, considering the Petro is banned, but Rain has shown a lot of willingness to, once the Libertad is banned, to use other things.
I think a Bungo is still really good as a counter pick against something like a Moskva, for example, because Bungo has the high precision spotter plane, where if you find the broadside, you're basically guaranteed to dev strike someone.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a world where I can see them bring Bungo out again, but I think it's going to be mostly based around what they think Oh Boy will bring, and then build around it.
All right. Unfortunately, looks like our connection will go down, so hopefully we can have that fixed. We'll have to see whether we can get back on the air or not. In terms of the next map coming up, we have Hotspot. which we've seen a couple of times. We've seen that teams starting in the east will usually leave just 1 or 2 ships, I think, to defend the D cap, and then we'll kind of rotate over towards the west edge of the map to go for that home cap push. But actually making the A to B push can be very difficult just because of how close the caps are to each other, with the big island between them. And then also with having like defensive ships like Monsters and Stalingrad's, for example, being able to be picked here, it can be actually pretty hard to push past this.
What do you guys think, Mr. Casters? What are your impressions, and what do you expect to see from this series and this map, maybe even in particular?
I think the main thing about Hotspot is that while the 2 home caps are very close to each other, the kind of the zones of the map, so there's like the A-B zone, the C zone, and the D zone, they're all quite far apart from each other. And that kind of layout does lend itself a little bit more towards what we usually see from Rain, which is where you bring the lighter comps and you can move ships around as they're needed.
Yep.
I think that, for example, if you commit a smoke screen over to the A cap, it'll be like minutes before it can make it, before the ship tied up there can make its way towards C or even heaven forbid all the way across the map to D. Whereas the Rain style of like, you know, bringing in 4 or 5 destroyers, just running them around the map, and just able to get concentrated fire onto like entrenched positions. I think that's where Rain is probably going to find a lot of success.
Yeah,
I would strongly agree. Yeah, we've seen some amazing plays on the rotations from Rain, and with a map where the caps are so separate from each other, as you mentioned, Zoe, the rotations are going to be extremely important, and it might actually be hard to track. But it's 2 teams which have a lot of experience, even though Rain like showed so much metal in the previous tournaments and games of this very tournament. Oh boy is going to have to bring their A games, I think, and maybe even some surprises. Every time we mention surprises, however, it doesn't really happen, so I won't jinx it this time. All right?
Okay.
Well, you already have. So.
I did. Damn it.
All right. I think the teams are ready, so we can get ready to go into Hotspot here for game number 1 of the grand finals and see which team will start off with an advantage.
Amidst the treacherous islands and turbulent waters of the South Pacific lies an archipelago that will soon become the stage for an epic confrontation between enemy fleets. These scenic islands will reverberate with the clashing of steel and the roar of naval artillery that can only be matched by the volcano that looms over the area. This is Hotspot. Hotspot is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination style map with 4 cap points running from west to east. The A and B cap are on the left, C is in the center, and D is on the right. In this new setting, the spawn points for the teams have been moved from a central position to a position located on the 7/8 line. Cap A and B on the left will provide a challenge for even the most skilled of teams, while an island provides an easy ability to take one's home cap. The small amount of water that separates the caps enables the smallest misstep to be massively exploited. Teams that lose a ship out here will quickly find themselves fighting for only half the map. In the center, Cap C provides a variety of ways in and out for ships and can draw in a destroyer player like bees to honey. However, the 4 islands surrounding the cap provide a multitude of ways for a raider cruiser to ambush an unsuspecting DD. Cap D on the right provides a new and unique experience for teams. Moved from within the islands to the west, the D cap now has no island cover. Teams will have to execute any plays for the cap with an extreme amount of caution, as once lost, the cap will be a significant challenge to retake. 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play Hotspot!
Alrighty, welcome into our game 1 of the grand finals of King of the Sea 17 between Oh Boy and Rain, playing for $40,000 for first place. Oh Boy, spawning in the north, is going to be bringing a Bungo, a Loria, a Des Moines, 2 Moskvas, a Marseille, a Sherman, a Delny, and a Daring. And what about the forces in the south?
Rain bringing a Bungo as well, actually. In Ohio, a double Des Moines, and we have a Colbert, John the Ruthless himself, in his favorite ship in the Colbert. We'll have to pay a bit of attention to that. A double gearing as smoke trains with a Delny and a Z42. Z42 with a crazy sonar, actually making an interesting play here, moving up to 7-8 line already, maybe to try to get some early
I mean, this
spotting.
is a position we see in modes such as clan battles that bringing in that long hydro destroyer, putting it into this little enclosed area and trying to get some spotting across the way here. But
Zooey, what do you say about the massive deployment on Oh Boy towards the,
Yeah.
the 1-2 line, however?
we have to see what they leave behind in the mid, but I don't think it's going to be that Sherman and Des Moines.
You don't think so? It is kind of an interesting combo, however. The Sherman having this powerful hydro, the crazy sub TPM, and the American smoke able to shield the Des Moines for a while. But we see actually the Delny from Rain just sending it straight into sea. Kind of a bold move at this point, but maybe they just want to use the speed advantage and the tankiness of the Delny to just get that cap early as possible.
The two
it might work
Delnies
out
will
for
be
them.
touching onto the caps at roughly the same time. Oh Boy's Delny also left kind of to his own devices over on that D cap.
Yes, that's true. We see already the smoke train coming in for Rain, Lulu, and for Amazing here. Does the Delny just back the C cap like this? That would be
I think
very strong.
that is the weakness of the Sherman. While it does provide that USN smokescreen, it is not a very fast destroyer. So
And look at this,
really
both
not in time.
Moskvas kind of caught, forced to turn away from the incoming Bungo salvos here. Of course, the Bungo being an extremely accurate ship, this kind of messes up their early formation. The Moskva from Oboy taking a little bit of damage, but Reunited here kind of caught like bow on and able to make really like a turn, and the Ohio salvo coming in, actually landing that Citadel Malimu from 25 clicks away. Dangerous position here for Reunited. He's kind of stuck
Can
here.
he make his way toward the island? I think this was their plan, to get him onto that island where there is the infamous Hotspot volcano.
John the Ruthless engaging with the Colbert, very maneuverable ship, but also very squishy. Has to be careful not to take too much damage here from the Des Moines Bungo pair. He will stop shooting, of course, but I think they're just trying to get as much damage on the Moskva as possible.
It's putting a lot of pressure onto Reunited's Moskva. He's so far out of position.
It is, yeah. That early spot from the Delny really is hurting them, and I don't think he can actually get away. The Delny is kind of maintaining that spot, so he will have to reverse out of the detection range.
Oh Boy will reclaim that C cap, thankfully. Obviously, Delny does not really have any support behind him, so just a really, really quick C cap, but then Oh Boy will immediately flip it. Still a lot of long-range fire going into Reunited's Moskva.
Ohio Salvo not really hitting anything on this, unfortunately for them. So we see an early cap from Rain being converted to a C cap for Oh Boy. At the same time, both teams are walking into their home caps here.
Jaster's Bungo has popped that precision spotter. Let's see if this salvo lands. It lands nicely onto the midsection of the Moskva, but obviously Moskva has so much deck armor. Gonna bounce the majority of the salvo.
That is true, yeah. Rain also getting control of the D cap here with the Z42 actually coming in to help here. Both the Gearing and the Z42 from Rain are going to be maybe contesting the Delny, but what do you see happening, Zooey?
Well, over towards the A cap is just going to be a pretty slow take. Like the two teams are kind of positioning their smoke screens. Obviously, Oh Boy has left one of theirs towards the middle of the map. The Des Moines kind of left on his lonesome, but looks like no fast aggression coming out of either side on that home cap.
The positioning of Deloria kind of aggressively next to the island coming in from Oh Boy could actually be interesting. Deloria could lob some pretty heavy ASAP shells over to these cruisers. Yeah, let's see what happened there. But meanwhile, we have kind of this strong D position from Rain here. They do have the Des Moines, which is spotted. They do have Lulu here in the Gearing, and only one Delny on Oh Boy to block this. However, Oh Boy does have a Bungo. Basically on the 7 line, which could be dangerous against that Des Moines if he decides to push.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty safe here. I doubt much happens on this side of the map, to be honest.
I mean, so far it is kind of a testing the waters here. Both teams kind of have taken defensive position, and both have captured the capture zone for their own at this point. Torpedo being traded and smokescreen being set. Gangbarang taking some little damage from the Luria SAP here, but Oh Boy does have a Moskva with a radar coverage setting up to try and contest that smoke train.
I don't think he's going to be able to chase into that smokescreen. Obviously, Gangbarang does have a lot of room to maneuver behind the smokescreen as well. You don't have to be in the smoke, you just need to be behind it. The real ship Shady is gearing, laying down a much larger smoke than a Sherman can, obviously.
Delny from Oboy engaging on that Des Moines rotation, kind of forcing him to put his bow so he's not being like massacred with the AP here. Kind of an interesting play. I was expecting Formazing to make a left turn here to maybe try to go back towards the Z42, but now he's kind of forced to accept the Delny. And the Bungo salvo coming in from Oboy, putting Formazing down to 20k HP. He's now forced to get a smoke screen from Lulu here.
Beautiful
That's
shot
a lot of HP
coming
indeed,
from Controller's Bungo. Obviously, with that precision spotter, it's so dangerous for Bow 1 cruisers. The 457mm guns of the Bungo overmatching the Des Moines plating pretty much everywhere.
Lots of HP indeed being traded here. Formazing not being too well at the very start of that game.
But they will use that smoke screen to pull off a turn, get away from this very, very dangerous Bungo position.
This smoke is kind of wasted, however, because there's not really any means to get any targets lit up, you know, to make use of that coverage.
And Oboy is moving their own smoke screen back over to the decap, actually.
They are, which is kind of a weird thing, because at the same time, Antauro will actually park the Z42 with the sonar ready to get it back. Oboy does have the Moskva available. Finally, the Moskva from Oboy managed to get the position he was supposed to take in the first place.
But Antaro does actually have a pretty decent sliver of the cap where he can play.
He does, and he can just get cover behind that rock where the Moskva's railguns can't reach him.
Yeah, see, right now, actually, the Moskva radar is on, but they do not see the Z42 is pushing up towards radar
that is
range.
Such a sliver. He is going to be spotted now, but I think it's too late. He might be able to get the cap here.
I believe United does have the angle to get shots onto the Z42, so he will be denied the cap for now.
Yeah, that's a hit and a reset, actually. At the same time, Oboy, Balance Department's Des Moines does not really have the guns on target. C remains into Oboy's control. Some more damage dropping in on the Z42. Does the Loria? Yeah, the Loria salvo will try to get some damage done. Kind of a more or less slow start here. Each team's like testing the waters, not really losing too much HP.
Yeah.
Finato, however, in his own Moskva, probably has taken a torpedo, I believe, to be on that low HP. No, the Colbert, just John the Ruthless farming in for 30k HP already, just with HE.
Yeah, so much damage output coming out of those two ships. The Des Moines and the Colbert over on that one line have massive DPM against anything that's sitting still.
They do, yeah. I mean, and of course, John the Ruthless, knowing this ship cannot buy a heart at this point, isn't really too scared of facing off a Moskva.
And even this game does have a smokescreen to play with too. The real ship Shady does have a smokescreen available in the gearing. It looks like they're going to try to get a little bit more aggressive with it.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, the Sherman and the Des Moines both on decent HP here. Just gonna lock down C cap, so the Z42 from Rain is unable to make any moves on this. This is a lot of
commitment though for a cap that they already have. They've burned a smokescreen now, and they have to leave the Des Moines there.
Perhaps
right?
they just want a Des Moines to get an angle on the Ohio. Malimu here pushing in will sort of suffer from the Des Moines. He does have to move, however. There are torpedoes coming in the water. He sees them.
The Ohio does have a lot of HP to play with though, and obviously, as you mentioned before, the Ohio does have a lot of very quick heals.
Yeah. It does.
We'll take a little bit of long-range fire from the Moskva and the Loria, but nothing doing too much.
Decent chunk on this Ohio. And the Ohio, like, Malimu will be kind of stuck here, but at the same time, if he maintains that push, he will start threatening the Moskva and potentially the Des Moines with these crazy 457mm guns. In the meantime, though, the Delny from Oboy trying to make this sneaky rotation behind the Des Moines. He has torpedoes coming in towards that, which is a good timing on this. Formazing might be able to dodge them with the unique upgrade, but the Bungo dropping from across the island here. That torpedo will
from the controller
hit the island, unfortunately, but that's a lot of damage poured on Formazing here.
Yeah, unfortunately wasn't able to find the total deletion that we usually see from the Bungo. Formazing will heal up and get into safety behind the island here.
Do we have any other crossfires? The radar being burned on that Delny is now really scary. Boto here from Oboy has to be careful. He is pushing into that radar, and he has to just be careful not to eat too much damage. But now, Boto can just walk into the decap and really put some pressure on Rain in terms of points right now.
Yeah, I think Rain's best move here is actually to send the Ohio back over to
Antaro cuts into the Des Moines radar being laid by the Moskva now. They might be able to get the kill here. Antaro just trying to kind of challenge that smoke train radar. Can Oboy actually bag the kill on this? The Moskva has some salvos. The Loria can join on this as well.
Just at the edge of that Moskva radar now, the Sherman not quite able to connect the shells, even with its improved
incoming
ballistics.
Moskva salvo, however, doesn't get the... He is burning, though. He is burning with no DCP. 14 seconds left. Can he actually survive this?
I'm not sure he can. Let's see how much longer is left on this fire
I think he will
duration.
survive on like 50
Oh.
HP. The fire goes out. That's a really risky move from Anti here.
250 HP remaining on the Z42. Kind of an unnecessary check. There's no way he's taking that C-cap.
Definitely not as well. And meanwhile, Daily from Oboy just basically laughing at the Hydro from Formazing here. Daily just packing himself into D and just getting the cap for themselves.
Yeah, and at this point, look at the points. There's about a 30-point advantage for Oboy, and they have now bagged that D cap. They are on 3 caps to 1. Only a minute and a half for Rain to find something here, and Formazing's HP is not high.
It is not, no. He is also facing now Balanced Department's Demon, which has stuck next to this island. Really good positioning on this Demon, and again forcing the gearing to burn that smoke screen. The Moskva, however, does go down. We see a very aggressive push from Rain on the other side, on the AB one, with John the Ruthless being smoked up by the gearing and Gangbarang's Demon just challenging the A cap. They're doing crazy damage to the Marseille, however, and the Loria. The Loria with the 457s coming in on the Colbert could be really, really dangerous. Actually, a Citadel from the
Land the Citadel
bow.
right in the bow, but he will remain alive, and the Marseille's time on this earth is limited. 10,000 HP remaining.
And here goes the gearing smoke protecting the Colbert here, and yeah, they will indeed, as
I
you
don't
said,
think
back
there's
to
any
Marseille.
way they can bag this Colbert now.
No.
Final shots coming in from John the Ruthless and Gangbarang.
And look at this ship as well, making the actual plays here. Rain just making that play on the home cap,
they
trying
were
to
just
get
waiting
that.
for that next smoke screen to make this push up on the island. They're actually smoking the Colbert around rather than Des Moines.
Can Gang actually survive? This is gonna be maybe one other Loria salvo. No, he's dark actually at this point.
8,000 HP is not a lot to play with.
Meanwhile, they are also reversing Formazing in that gearing smoke to try and get the D cap back. We see a good reaction from Rain, actually just flipping the cap control into their favor and kind of throwing off the defensive line of Oboy.
And with that kill and the caps locked away, now it's Oboy's turn to make something happen. They have about a minute left to play with. Malamoo's Ohio dropping to about 50,000
the daring
HP.
from Oboy being caught in disengagement. He is dark now in the smoke, but there's just so many shells coming through.
Too much firepower on this side for Rain.
Yeah, it is, and that's it. That's a win for Rain, just like that, pushing the points all the way to 1,000 and getting the win.
It looked really close until Rain kind of pulled the trigger, and then suddenly that A cap just totally collapses. Rain just with pure DPM pushes over the side of Oboy.
I guess once the Moskva dies, they just trigger this push, and that's it, you know. It's a shame though, because it was looking quite nice for Oboy at the start, especially with the amount of damage they were pouring on Formazing's Demons, but they just can't get the kill in the end.
For sure, it definitely looked like Oboy had a commanding position in that match for, I want to say, early and mid game, for sure.
Yep.
I mean, they basically pincered Formazing's Des Moines. They had some amazing Bungo Salvos at the start to chunk him. And then after that, his position was basically compromised with the Delny behind him, the Bungo on the 910 line as well. Des Moines in front of him, it seemed like he was on borrowed time. And then the Z42 face check in the middle of the map also looked quite bad.
It did.
I mean, 200 HP remaining, very lucky for, I believe it was Antaro, to survive there. But did manage to squeak away. And then Rain with the signature pick in the Colbert for John the Ruthless. I think it is his most played ship, actually.
It is.
I think it's probably the ship he's most famous for. Just puts out so much damage. And then we talked a little bit about the home cap push, how that works on this map, where essentially you have that island in between the A and the B caps. You might have something like a Mosswood anchor it down, right? Like Oboy had. But once that ship is gone, there's nothing to defend it.
Yeah, and the Colbert, I think, is one of those ships that can put damage on the Moskva from like really, really, really wide angles because because of its really poor ballistics.
The
Right, the
floaty
floaty
shells,
shell
of
ballistics
course,
will let it actually land shells on the Moskva from crazy positions that you might not expect it to be hit from.
You were mentioning the Marceau being a farming platform. How about 2.5 Marceaus in one ship?
Yeah,
For sure. I mean, Colbert, I think, maybe the most HE DPM in the game, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is. I think it does something like 800k HE DPM, if I remember correctly.
So
and like
it's literally
1.1 million AP DPM. So
it's probably the best ship in the game for killing a stationary position like that Moskva.
Yes.
If you can keep the guns active, and they did. They managed to keep the spotting. They had the smoke screen to cover him. They were even willing to push John aggressively out of the smoke screen to kill the Marseille while the gearing was waiting on his smoke cooldown. Did catch a Citadel there from the Laureate, just on the very edge of the dispersion pattern.
Indeed.
But didn't die, thankfully, for Rain. And I think they basically win that whole game one off the back of that home cap play.
Yeah.
Picking up the kills there.
And I think it's really really bold for them to play the Des Moines outside of the smokescreen too. Obviously, against ships like the Marseille and the Loria, like it's a really dangerous position for Gangbarang's Des Moines to be playing outside of his gearing smokescreen. But they realize that his position is something like he can go dark behind the island if he needs to. What they really need is to bring that Colbert to the right position to farm out the Moskva.
Absolutely. I think we should note that the unique upgrade of the Des Moines, of course, gives it that exceptional acceleration, allows it to play those island positions across from the Moskva quite effectively.
Yep.
I just want to point out that we did have 13,500 redemptions for the last code, which gives us the extra half of a tromp necessary to complete the half tromp for our giveaway.
Yep.
So we will have quite a few. And we also have the last code available for today. This is the final one, COTS 517 from the deep. So we'll have to see if Oboy can come from the depths here to claim the COTS 16 winner reign.
I don't think they're that much in the depths yet. They've only lost one game. Let's not put them in the grave just yet.
They did look very solid.
Yes, they were doing very well. I think they were very close. It was a very close game until about like 850 points, basically. And then Rain decided to finally commit to the execute that they wanted to go for on the 2 home caps. And they did it, I honestly want to say, very well. There was a moment where Sheep's Delny went through the channel, basically behind the Moskva, between the 2 Moskvas into the home cap. And that was a very interesting moment, because if the Moskva that was being farmed by the Colbert didn't die, then it would have been rushed by the Delny. So there was a backup plan there, and then the backup plan would have also resulted in them at least contesting the cap, if not just flipping the cap. So there was some a good amount of thought going into that play before it actually happened.
Do you think almost that I think maybe Formazing's Des Moines position being so tempting for Oboy to converge on kind of brought their smokescreen back over from C towards the D cap? Do you think maybe that shift in assets is maybe what allowed Rain to make such an aggressive push on the home caps?
I think that Formazing's position in the Des Moines, as well as the movement of the Ohio, kind of baited out the Sherman and the Des Moines. And again, the Sherman is a ship that just really doesn't get around the map that quickly. So they baited them into sticking around over there, and then that resulted in the total collapse of the west side of the map.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think Sherman only goes something like 35 knots with the speed flag. Of course, doesn't have access to engine boost. So once you position it somewhere on the map, it's there for a while.
Yeah, it's a fairly slow ship, but it does bring that really, really high DPM and really high effective DPM, important to add for a destroyer, because most of the time, destroyers have fairly high HE DPM and AP DPM, but they're never able to actually utilize it because most of the shells that they shoot don't pen.
Yeah, and they have very poor ballistics as well, usually.
Yeah, so Sherman has SAP, and Sherman is actually able to pen most of the armor plating that a cruiser will have. And so if, for example, you're parking a Des Moines or something like that in front of a Sherman, it's going to eat through that.
Unfortunately, they don't really make it work because they failed to kill the Z42 from Rain. If a few more SAP shells would have connected, that would have been a kill.
250 HP is like one SAP shell.
I just want to note, we usually don't see the Sherman in COTS, but with the Haragumo band, the Haragumo, of course, adding a lot of DPM to smoke screens is usually the preferred role. Makes the smokes extra deadly because you have basically 2 DPM ships in it. The Sherman fills that role almost exactly. It just has a little bit better ballistics, has the SAP, of course, lacks the HE pen, and it lacks the speed and the torps. But it's a nice kind of replacement for the Haragumo in most senses. It's just you have to make sure you position it where you need it. But unfortunately for Oboy, they kind of got baited out by Formazing, which was probably not... I don't want to say it's intentional on Rain's part, because it was very nearly a very big problem for them. I mean,
he could have easily just been one shot by the Bungo.
If they had lost Formazing, if they had lost the Z42 in the middle, those 2 kills give them a lot more points to work with. And also lets them flip the D cap as well.
If they lose those 2 ships, I think the game is over, because that would be 100 points and they would be at 950, 975, something like that. At which point you only play for 1 cap out of the 4 that are available and you'll be winning anyway.
Yep, exactly. And again, I think this is kind of the split-second decision making that we've talked about teams on this level having with their strategies, being able to adapt on the fly. Rain seeing that the Oboy smoke train is shifting towards the D cap, and being able to pull the trigger on their push on the west side, letting them win the game. So definitely very good eye for opportunity there, and they definitely deserve the first win.
Again, the Loria pick, however, on Oboy's side to try and defend that home push. Any other things would have been maybe more efficient at just even rooting out the Colbert with a Colombo, for example.
Yeah,
So I'm actually surprised about the pick as well, especially because they put that ship on the defense.
Loria is certainly a strong ship. We've seen it picked by a few teams now. Again, it's not my favorite battleship, but I'm a little biased against it. I do have to agree with you, Ramen. I think something like a Colombo just does more damage in
Just
general.
massacres the Colbert.
But again, probably they're looking for the 30mm overmatch, right? They want the 30mm overmatch. They want something that's relatively tanky when it's kiting. Due to the Loria's, I think, mostly rear deck being very thick.
Yeah,
it's very
I
hard
think
to
it's
kill when kiting.
110mm or something along those lines, yeah.
So I see why they bring the Loria. I don't personally like it very much, but it makes sense, and it did do a lot of damage to the Colbert, just not quite enough.
Yep.
So we'll have to see what they bring out in game 2.
I do think a Colombo in that situation would have definitely fared better, especially if you're shooting blind into a smoke. Obviously, they can't predict it's going to be a Colbert in a smoke.
Yeah, it's
If
not
it
exactly
was
the most common ship.
Yeah,
For
if it's a Des Moines, I think Loria does make a lot of sense to bring against Des Moines in particular, that smoked up. But in this situation, because it was a Colbert, if they happen to bring a Colombo to the kiting flank, I think they would have had a much better chance of killing him, or if not, at least pressuring him enough that they don't make a super aggressive play with the smoke
For
screen.
sure. And a Colombo with the 16 guns also would have done a lot better against Sheep's Delny, for example.
Yeah.
The Loria, I think, with only 8 guns being not very effective against destroyers, like we saw in the Rain TWA game, where TWA's Loria actually got rushed down by the Shima. Only 8 barrels doesn't really help you a lot when you're facing against a destroyer. But we can go ahead and take a look at map number 2 here, I think. Rain taking a very last-minute win there, but very well played from them. On to Sleeping Giant, one of the maps that we've seen a lot so far, the most picked map of the tournament still.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about this map. What might you expect from these two teams?
I don't know. I think the best, the most reasonable and the most sane answer I can give regarding this is that we're going to see something similar to what we just saw. I think there's going to be a lot of control, a lot of very safe plays at the start of the game. I think everyone, the teams will pick the 2 caps that they want to focus on, and they will mostly get them early on, and then it will be a stalemate for a while. I think we'll probably tick up to around 800 points again, and then one team will decide, oh, we want to make a push, or oh, we want to break the stalemate in some sort of way. I don't know how they're going to do that in this case, because Sleeping Giant is a map where if you have those good entrenched positions around the caps, they are very hard to dislodge.
Yeah.
So it really requires some, mid-game calling where you need to really understand what type of position is weak and exploitable. And I think the Moskvas and potential other capital ships are the weakness in this type of game where it's going to go super long, because they are the most likely to be bursted down and killed.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. I want to point out, of course, that the west and the east sides of the map are both quite favorable for smoke trains. And of course, we do have the gearing option open. We have the Sherman if they want to bring that again. We have the Des Moines. So definitely something I would expect to see from these teams, especially on the east side of the map. And of course, actually making a push on the home caps is pretty difficult on this map because you don't have a lot of cover to actually take it with.
There's a lot of islands around the home caps to play with as well.
And without the cap actually being in the Thunderdome on the west, we tend to see more smoke trains on that end of the map versus the fast rushes that we used to see.
But the Thunderdome is actually an excellent transition point between A and B if some crazy middle rotations have to happen. It does provide a lot of safety, at least.
Yeah, I would expect probably this map to basically depend on who can break the cruiser positions on the Thunderdome Islands, perhaps, since those usually offer you very good control over the B cap, over the A cap. But again, it will depend on how the teams opt to split their forces. We've seen most teams opt to not contest B at all at the start because it is very easily coverable by multiple radars. And with Mossad being open, I would probably expect to see multiple Mosses on this map.
Yeah, I think Moss was definitely going to be a mainstay. I think, though, that Rain has shown that they're very comfortable playing the little light cruisers that are really good at breaking down those entrenched positions. That we've seen Svea, obviously, in their run last weekend. And then today, just now, the Colbert is out as well. So these are definitely like the prime ships for breaking down those Mossad positions, and definitely some opportunities on Sleeping Giant for these ships to make a move. Yeah,
I think this is the time where Rain brings out the pocket strats with the Colbert.
I was going to ask you, Baz, do you think they bring out the Colbert again in game number 2?
I would hope to see it. I think it was really impactful in game number 1, and I think they most likely can utilize it probably on the home cap side, where there is a lot more open water, I am expecting to be paired
And you
with
might
a gearing smoke probably. So we'll see.
you would expect maybe the Colbert out over there to focus down maybe a monster position on those like channel rocks.
I think so. I think in general we've seen a lot of Moskvas be placed on the home cap island, where it's been fairly stationary and very easy to farm down. Also generally a easy-ish position to spot. So I'm expecting to see something like that. Other than that, I don't really know how to predict a game that is already been very close. So I'm hoping for a close game again. I'm hoping for actually a oh boy win, just so we keep the
pressure
keep
to
the
the
pressure
level
keep
up
the hype
and
up,
keep the
for
hype
sure.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if any team can do it, I think Oh Boy has the potential here. Again, they looked very solid in that first game. I would definitely be looking for them to bring some kind of aggressive or good strategy here to break open rain.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how they do. Do we have any interesting thoughts on battleship picks here? I mean, we saw the Bungo in the last games. Given the Moss was open, I think we might continue to see them. Colombo has also been a mainstay. Do you think Oh Boy breaks away from the Loria pick, maybe?
I don't know. I feel like the ship like a Bungo wouldn't work nicely in this map because of the time when you have to push.
For sure.
Because you don't have the armor, you do have the speed, but I would actually see either a Colombo or a Vermont being brought by either teams.
Yeah. Vermont's definitely a ship that the teams are very well practiced with playing, especially in modes like clan battles on this map. Vermont is especially good because it kind of has poor ballistics, but that does lend it very unique opportunities, especially around the Thunderdome, to lob shells over the islands.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
And one ship that both of these teams, most of the teams today have been a little bit underusing, in my opinion, is St. Vincent. I think it's a battleship that has historically been so strong. And when you need to be aggressive, I don't think anything really matches a St. Vincent in
That
terms
is
of pushing
definitely something
power.
that I was actually about to suggest is maybe we see a St. Vincent out towards the 8, 9, 10 line.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely one of the strongest battleships you can pick for that position. But both of our teams are ready now, so we can see what strategies they opt to bring here into game number 2 of the Grand Finals. We'll throw it to the map introduction video, and then we'll get started.
A colossal battle between opposing fleets will soon unfold here amongst the waters of the East China Sea. The residents of these islands will shortly bear witness to the thunder and flash of combat, and only one team will sail away victorious. This is Sleeping Giant. Sleeping Giant is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination style map with 4 cap points running from west to east. The A cap is on the left, B is in the center, and C and D are on the right. In this new iteration, both team spawns have moved from a central position to a north and southwestern spawn position, offering a wealth of new strategies for teams to execute. Cap A on the left is fraught with danger, shifted from its previous position inside the Thunderdome to being centered on the tip of the island on the 1-2 line. A daring destroyer player can hug the island to take the cap quickly, but will face a treacherous journey to escape afterwards. In the center, capture area B is just as perilous. Completely open with plenty of places for radar cruisers to hide nearby without being spotted, it is commonly left uncaptured until the mid and late game. Caps C and D on the right provide an intriguing choice to teams. Pick up just their home cap, deploying radar and kiting ships to protect it, or risk it all on a push down the 9-10 line to gain control over both caps and the potential win. Sleeping Giant has a long history in King of the Sea since its return in King of the Sea 13. Many tightly contested and challenging matches have been fought on this map, which begs the question, who will be the victor this time? 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play Sleeping Giant.
Okay, welcome to game 2 on Sleeping Giant between Oh Boy and Rain. On the side of Oh Boy, we have a Vermont on the field, a Colombo, 2 Des Moines, a Moskva, a Gearing, Delny, and 2 Ragnars making their way over already towards that B cap. What about on the side of Rain?
Rain is bringing in Ohio a Colombo, Des Moines, double Moskva, the Colbert is back with the Gearing, and then a double Delny. Double Ragnar, double Delny. What do you think of this, especially when Oh Boy's Ragnar already like sailing straight towards B?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the matchup for these 2 destroyers is particularly well known. I feel like it's just they both struggle to kill each other and they just disengage.
That's fair. At the same time, oh boy, with that double Ragnar is gonna have a pretty decent foothold on B, and the Delnis don't really look to be contesting this. The Moskva, however, from Rain will have some radar coverage and maybe some angles to contest it.
Yeah, a quick 2-ship cap. It's definitely a strat that some teams can use to pick up an early cap. Like, even if they get radared here, like, it's only 10 seconds left for someone to get a shot into these two.
Yeah, more like 30 on the Moskva's timers here, so Janier will have to try and get some evasive maneuvers.
Yeah,
we
let's
also
see
have
if
Ohio.
they decide to stick the cap. Looks like they tried to stick the cap.
They stick the cap, yeah.
Try to get the cap early,
Colombo
but
salvo from Malimu coming in on the Ragnar here could actually be really devastating. Nope,
Oh.
misses the mark.
a little bit of a miss here, so they will be shoved off the cap. Thankfully, didn't lose too much HP for it.
Not much indeed, yeah. One of them might actually just stay and try to reverse into it, but this Moskva's radar finally goes off and they can breathe a little bit.
Yeah. The second Moskva radar, Lukar's Moskva, not quite in position to recontest on the cap. But it looks like the oh boy Ragnars didn't actually fire back, so they will remain spotted a little bit longer. They'll be shoved away off of that B cap. So an unsuccessful early cap here.
Indeed, and meanwhile, Rain has secured D and is pushing a Delny towards the home cap push. Double Des Moines gearing, they are not really set up for a smoke train, more like an island camp at this point, which could be a bit problematic if any big pushes are done. Remember, Rain only has one smoke in this entire thing, and it's only the gearing. So depending on where they place that smoke could be pivotal to whatever play they have on 9-10 line.
Yeah, and if Gangbarang's Delny can get into a nice position to get some spotting on these two Des Moines, I mean, they have one gearing smoke to play with. I doubt they're sending both of them into the gearing smoke, so one of these Des Moines will be vulnerable. And there is a Colbert and Des Moines to farm them.
Yeah, and of course the Colbert shell's definitely able to get over that island here where Balance Department will maybe hold, I guess. I feel like we've seen this before when Des Moines, which hold around here, don't really live that long if the DDs can maintain eye contact. Tons of Dennis here. We'll have to be careful about torpedoes, but I believe these are Delny or gearing, I can't tell.
First set of torps was from the Delny. I believe the second is from the gearing. They will just peter out here.
They'll just run out. Okay, Des Moines from Balance Department is spotted. We might actually see some Colombo salvo, the Moskva salvo, the Delny engaging directly.
Yep, everyone opening up immediately here on the Des Moines. He will be smoked away by his gearing. And actually, the angle of the smokescreen knows that they know roughly where this Delny is.
It is true.
But Ship Shady is bringing in John the Ruthless. And if they can find another ship to get some fire on, this is a very, very aggressive position from this Colbert. Look, it's just threading the little gap between the two Des Moines radars.
Yeah, it is true. The O-Boys radar does have it ready, however, so this Colbert has to be careful. But the Colbert is an extremely agile and quick cruiser. However, John the Ruthless does not have engine boost available anymore, so he has to be a little bit careful.
About a minute until he gets it back, so we'll play nice and safe behind the smokescreen for now. They know roughly where these two Des Moines are.
But the Delny Gangbarang here, just getting back in there, actually. He's going to be back inside that Des Moines radar. He will have to contend as well with gearing torpedoes.
You think they're going to try to just send him into the hard light of the Des Moines
Into the
here?
hard light, that would be suicide. But at the same time, with the Des Moines, Colbert, Colombo, and Moskva,
Right.
maybe they want to trade. If he goes the radar, that won't be into the hard light. I believe Des Moines is 8.1 kilometer.
Yeah, correct. He's not running his radar just about yet. I think the Delny actually got caught by the gearing. Hard light of the gearing.
Oh, these torpedoes from the gearing here on the Delny.
And they have gotten sight of their first target. It is not the Des Moines out
That
on the
is
9 line.
a
It is the Des
rough
Moines
turn.
in the middle of the map.
Gangbarang, however, can he dodge these torpedoes from the gearing? He can.
A big chunk going into YOLO and his Des Moines. And he's getting farmed over the island here. Actually, Colbert firing AP into the superstructure of the Des Moines right now.
That is not a good position you want to be. He's trying to get to that
I think
kind of
he
higher
is
part of the
safe
island.
right here, but it's a very little tiny sliver of safety.
He is dark now. Predictions on the screen right now. 28% to Oh Boy, 72 for Rain. So, of course,
I think
favorable.
not too much of a surprise here. Rain has historically been second only to TWA, but even in recent years, often taking a win off of their nemesis. So Oh boy, often falling to the 3rd and 4th place, at least among the EU teams.
Gang Barang suffering a little bit from that perma spot, from the gearing here. The Des Moines still not burning the radar. We see some blind fire on that smoke, actually. Fairly accurate here. Balance department kind of forced to maneuver out of this.
And there is a Des Moines radar coming out from YOLO, and Gang is deep inside this radar, but I think he's actually fairly safe here because his teammates have him covered on all angles.
Oh boy, tons of Dennis Gearing is forced to get away from the Des Moines radar as well, but he is definitely safe here. Yolante has to be careful. He is indeed radaring the Delny, but he can't really get an angle without being massacred by basically the Des Moines smoke train and the Colbert.
Oh, actually, what happened to Entaro?
I am not sure. We had a 1v1 Delny at A, and it seemed they just fought it to death at this point with the Colombo. So the first kill goes for Oh Boy. I wanted to say we should keep an eye on this double Delny thing, but it seems something happened. Maybe a Ragnar's radar cut him out.
Yeah. Ragnar's radar is currently up, actually, so I believe it was just a Delny on Delny face check, and Oh Boy had a little bit better support for him. Bato's Delny is down to about 5,000 HP, but does have 3 heals remaining, so as long as he stays safe, he will be back up to a reasonable amount of HP. They will run a Ragnar radar just to see what's going on.
Exactly, kind of a rough position for the Moskva here. Now they're going to have to try to play around that B area, but if the Moskva, Artorius and Ohio pushes, they will be met with the Vermont, the Ragnar spam, Jolante's Demon, which might actually find some angles. Rain, however, is sending the Colombo right through it.
Yeah, Colombo does actually find a little bit of a shot through the islands here on the Vermont. Nice shot coming from Malamu.
Most definitely, yes. And look at the Delny. Goodness me. Just making a play for it against all odds.
Yeah, I think he's just trusting that John the Ruthless's Colbert and For Amazing's Des Moines have his back here, so he's going to just shove onto that C-cap. Will be forced away momentarily, but YOLO and his Des Moines is in a between a rock and a hard place here.
Jolante is in trouble. I believe he can maybe find a sliver of space where he can actually stay up.
I think For Amazing's Des Moines is way too far up the line
and
now.
The real Ship Shady as well will maintain spot eventually as well after that smoke train. A really difficult position, using the unique upgrade here to get out of harm. He is actually dark. He is definitely dark. I think he can find a place where he can just try to survive.
Yeah, he's surviving here, but he won't be able to get his guns on anything.
No, but I think the goal right now is just for him to live, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
The Colombo, however, is so deep in here. Here goes the radar from the Stalingrad. The Moskva, to get eyes on
They do
Yolante
find eyes
again.
on the Des Moines over this island here. Shots coming in from the Ohio as well. Only takes one Citadel to clean off this Des Moines. Let's see if we can find it through the bow.
No, just depends. And look at the points for Oh Boy, however. They have basically a 200-point lead, if not more.
Every second they can buy here is so valuable because they're sitting on those 2 caps to the 1. YOLO enters Des Moines, down to 7,000 HP now.
He's burning. The Colombo is pulling the trigger on that rush. I don't think it matters at this point because the Des Moines might die before this even happens. What does Oh Boy has to block this Colombo push? Finally, Jolante's Des Moines go down, getting a little bit more points towards Rain here. But look at the Vermont from Oh Boy as well. He is just in there trying to block maybe the push from Malimu.
I don't think he can do that.
The Ragnar obliterated by the Colombo ACP Salvo,
and Ragnar
forced to
is
run.
so close to this Colombo. I don't think he can survive. Down he goes. Rain again just pulls the trigger, and all of their ships combine fire onto a single side of the map. You can see just the absolute stream of shells coming in from that Colbert onto the Vermont.
That is a lot indeed. And meanwhile, they are also putting Gunner Daster in the Ohio into B. The Moskva, however, Artorius is kind of low, so they have to find a solution to try and get that Moskva out of here. But it seems
I think they're perfectly happy trading the Moskva for the Vermont, though.
The Colombo's rotation is a bit too late. We were mentioning maybe try and get a rotation through the Thunderdome, but it seems they can't get the angle on that Moskva because of this. The Moskva goes down, however.
Shot coming from Eternal Titans. Vermont will finish off the Moskva, but I think he was already kind of a goner.
The Colombo salvo coming in on John the Ruthless, however. Oh yeah, that was a pretty good damage, actually.
About half of his health gone, but he is alive. Colbert, obviously, one of those light cruisers that does have improved Citadel healing, so it can heal a lot of that HP.
And now reunited from Oh Boy, stuck between a rock and a hard place, crossfired in like a almost 3-way crossfire, face-taking the Ohio, and the Colombo just deletes that. What is going on?
And Rain will, in the blink of an eye, erase like what 4 ships away from the side of Oh Boy. Dastard is in a little bit of trouble here, though.
It is, yeah. He has to to take some maybe Delny's torpedoes and they might trade the Ohio in there just to try and get this, but the points have actually kind of went back into close to Rain's favor, because remember, as long as this Ohio stays in B, he's denying the B points from ticking towards Oh Boy here.
Does have another heal remaining. Does have 2 heals remaining, about 15 seconds until his next one comes up. So let's
Delny's
see
torpedoes, how are they looking actually?
if Oh Boy can clean him up. I think he will take 2,
will take
and
2
that
on
will
the bow,
be
yeah.
the death of the Ohio.
Actually, not yet. All right, finally. Yeah. So they do keep the caps, but at the same time, even though they are still in the lead, and they don't really have enough assets to block the Delny gang barrang here, obviously speed boosting straight into the B cap now that this Moskva threat is gone, and they don't have any answers to prevent this.
Yeah,
Hell, they could even put the Delny through the channel all the way to A and have no answers for it.
Yep. Gangbang making his way onto the B cap. Surprisingly for me is like, look at the positioning of this Oh Boy gearing Des Moines so far in the back.
Extremely far,
Like,
yeah.
Well, there's absolutely no cover coming from this radar, and they're also forced to turn around by this nicely placed torpedo spread. They're not going to take any torps, but every single second they buy here is extra time for Gangbang to make his move. And they will be spotted here by Lukar's Moskva, who is honestly not well angled to this Des Moines.
No, or the Colombo as well at the same time. That SAP, he's forced to angle against the SAP salvo. Does minimal damage here, but at the same time, the Moskva from Lukar is so healthy.
I mean, he has a Des Moines on his broadside.
He
That
does.
HP can evaporate very quickly. He will now just kind of achieve the good angle.
Why would Rain send the Moskva in there is questionable at best, but at the same time, they do have some sort of momentum at this point. They just don't have to waste their assets.
Torpedoes in the water. Lukar, I think, whoa, just barely scrapes by one of these gearing torpedoes.
The second set, however, might actually hit the Moskva in the rear here if he's not
he
careful.
needs to accelerate here, but I know
He's taking it on the
these.
bow. That is with a DCP, without the DCP, and I believe
Oh, he
he's
actually
flooding.
accelerates to eat a second.
He does too!
Lukar
Luka! What
will
what
go
are you
down here to a gearing spread.
And Gangbarang just gets spotted by the Colombo just to try and engage. Might actually start suffering a little bit. But at the same time, Rain still does have a lot of HP to trade in this fight.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
Rain will have the lead here in the game, just by a sliver, though. They are down on points currently, but they do have the 3 caps to the
They
1.
do.
Gangbang needs to conserve his life. They're trying to push him to keep spotting on that Colombo for John the Ruthless's Colbert. Obviously, the single asset that Colbert has is the DPM, and if you're not firing your guns...
We do see some Delny's torpedoes going towards Malimu's Colombo, however. The Delny Gangbarang kind of suffering from this Ragnar. He's trying to finish off the Colombo, but he has to be careful not to die here. Maybe don't beat yourself next to the rock, next to a Ragnar, but he's dark now. However, torpedoes from the Delny about to connect with Malimu. Oh boy, pushing Des Moines gearing and Delny against 4 amazing here. It seems like the Delny has no choice but to take that 1v1.
Yeah,
Alan's department pushing his own Des Moines as well.
Yeah, for Amazing has actually found a pretty, like, this is a pretty good spot for him. Like,
Trying-
he's definitely going to be able to trade away the Delny, and Balance Department has a Colbert to attend to.
At the same time, though, Balance Department is knocking the turrets from the Des Moines, trying to save that Delny. I think Des Moines can actually wither that Colbert AP. They're just trying to get that kill. Both turrets from Amazing now disabled, even destroyed at this point. He can't fire. Amazing has no turrets. They might try to go for some sort of weird ram here. Yeah, they will go for a ram actually. They come. Oh!
Delny is saved by the Colbert. Or Delny is taken out by the Colbert. He
And
will
the
save
Colombo-
for Amazing, and now for Amazing has his rear gun.
Balance Department, what are you doing?
Oh my god! A beautiful play from the 2 players of Rain for Amazing. The rear turret of the Des Moines, the one that was not knocked out, finishing off Balance Department's Des Moines, and the covering fire from the Colbert, so pivotal for winning that engagement.
And now this gearing 1v1 will actually bag the game here, and that's gonna be a win for Rain. Goodness me, what a bloodbath that was.
A beautiful final moments of the game here coming out of Rain, actually. Just, oh my god, the covering fire from the Colbert. I think, again, this game, the Colbert is doing so much for his team.
Having a ton of impact indeed. Getting wrecked by battleships when getting fired at, of course, but at the same time surviving to actually make a difference here. Wow, lots of things happening at the mid to end game. But definitely this Demon engagement, the Delny just not able to ram at the end, even though the
So
Demon is
close.
unable to fire with both front turrets destroyed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
I mean, you could definitely see that a Balance Department definitely expected his Delny to get the ram off there because he was not paying attention and just drove right past that rear gun and ate the Citadels for the death. Where maybe if he had lived, they might have had enough time to actually finish off John's Colbert because he was quite
No, the
low.
Colombo was on the broadside of that Demon and would have eventually finished him off, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolute bloodbath of a match ending there.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Kills going back and forth. Both teams launching very aggressive pushes as the match started to close off. Very impressive home cap push from Rain. We've talked a little bit about Sleeping Giant being one of the maps where it's actually very difficult to execute a home cap push like that.
Yeah.
But they had the tools. They managed to put the Colbert to work. I think they basically saw that Oboy likes to play those channel positions with their radar cruisers. And once, I believe it was Yolo Ente in the Des Moines in the
I
channel.
think so, yeah.
Once they saw him take that position, they were set up for it.
Yeah.
The Mossman Ohio were in front of him, had his bow. I think from the start of the game, I saw the Ohio taking that position, and I was pretty sure that's what he was there for. And then covering the rear, you have the Colbert with those very floaty shell arcs, able to lob shells over islands that most other cruisers can't.
And they played that second smokescreen with the Gearing and the Des Moines formation, actually trading places with the Colbert in the smokescreen this time, and he got down so far in the Des Moines. Yeah.
I mean, we basically saw, as always on these maps, the island positions are basically the key to controlling the map.
Yep.
If you can break those positions, you open up a lot of the map. You open up the home caps. You can open up B, or rather, yeah, it is the B cap in the middle. But essentially, you saw Rain setting up 3 different angles to kill the Des Moines from. You had the Ohio and Mossman in front of him. You had John and the Colbert actually going back towards their spawn in order to get the required shell arc to lob over the islands. And like Zooey mentioned, the Des Moines taking his place in the smokescreen, pushing up the 10 line, opening up the angle on the rear of the Des Moines.
And because balance department and the gearing, like the Des Moines gearing smoke train from Oboy have been for some reason pushed so far away, they are free to take all this space and basically set up this crazy crossfire on Oboy's Des Moines.
We've talked about the Delny pick. I think Gangbrang's Delny did a lot of work in being able to actually force Oboy to smoke up a little bit further away. When you have the 7.3 kilometer detection of the Delny plus the survivability, you can kind of position it aggressively in the open water and force the enemy to lay a smoke screen. Otherwise, you're going to be spotting their cruiser.
Certainly.
So I want to say just that I think Rain does a fantastic job of coordinating all of their assets together.
For sure, yeah.
I think especially after they lost the Delny in the West, you kind of saw them pull the trigger on like the exact game plan that they needed to execute in order to still have a chance of winning the match. Where basically they lost the Delny, they realized that their Mossman and Ohio need to be able to kill the Des Moines, and then they just go for a mass coordinated push with all their ships on the east side.
Yeah.
I do think that Oboy had a very solid chance of coming back into the game.
Definitely.
I think one of their key mistakes was probably sending the Colombo and the Ragnar wide around the Thunderdome instead of going through the Thunderdome.
Absolutely. I think there were 2 things that I probably would have liked to see Rain do better to make it be a bit more decisive, because there were definitely some interesting options available.
Sure.
I think one of them would have been to have Dastard, the Ohio, in the middle. After not being able to cap for sure, he probably had the ability to turn left and go into the Thunderdome and be relatively safe. That is an option that I saw. I'm not sure how exactly it looked like in the game state itself, but it looked possible in the minimap at least.
Yeah.
And the other one was Luka's Moskva. And I think it was just a misplay.
Yep, just a
I
little
think he
bit too
went
hard on
a
the
bit
rudder
too
there.
far out, realized that he is giving flat broadside to a Des Moines at like sub 10 kilometers, and was like, okay, I need to commit to this now, regardless if I die or not, at least to maximize the amount of time I'm spending taking the focus fire.
Whereas if he had just tried to reverse from that position, he probably would have just died to the Des Moines, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely a little bit unfortunate for them to lose the Mossman in that fashion, but mistakes do happen in the moment. I think for the first time today, we actually do have our vendor available.
Amazing.
So we can break down game number 2 here in the grand finals and go over the back and forth here towards the end of that match, which was quite crazy.
So let's go over to the render.
All right, take us away, Baz. We have, I think, very similar deployments again from the 2 teams here, with the exception of the double Ragnar pick from Oboy. Being a little ambitious here to try to fast cap B. I just want to point out at this point, this is basically what you will see from most teams playing this map. You have the 112 kilometer radar on the Thunderdome Island here. You have the second 12 kilometer radar on the home cap position here. And these 2 ships together basically give you permanent radar coverage over the B cap.
Yep.
Oboy may be gambling that Rain wouldn't put one of the Mosswas in this position and hoping for a fast cap maybe before the Mosswas are finally set up. Because if you can get the B cap early, it's very hard for the other team to take it back. But unfortunately for Oboy, their gamble didn't pay off. They took a little bit of damage on the Ragnars, but nothing too catastrophic.
Yep.
So decent early game play from them, but didn't quite pan out. And then again, you can see, I want to point out the very aggressive Delny play from Gangbrang on the 10 line here actually forces the immediate smoke screen on the C line for Oboy.
Yeah.
And this is very important if you're trying to execute a home cap push. You want to make the enemy smoke cruisers basically be smoking as far back as possible.
Yeah, I think it's also very important, as you said already, to force the enemy team to use the smoke from their smoke destroyer early and defensively.
Yeah.
If you use it defensively, it means that you're giving up ground, trying to survive. And for Rain, they were laying an aggressive smoke screen towards Oh Boy's deployment,
Yeah, you can
which
see
meant that they were actively gaining space from their smoke
You can
screen.
see the very aggressive line here on the F line moving up towards the E line here, basically in the middle of the map, being very well positioned to actually start breaking this Des Moines position that I think Rain is expecting Oh Boy to take.
Yep.
And again, you can see the very aggressive position from the Ohio here being ready to crossfire this Des Moines.
Yep.
And again, the Colbert pick with those very floaty shell ballistics can arc over the island either from the smoke screen or once he moves a little bit further back towards his home cap.
Yep.
So a very deliberate setup here from Rain. I think knowing the positions that Oh Boy likes to take, reading their lineup, knowing that the Des Moines would probably take that position, and making the most of their Delny to create the space for them to make this happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole, at least east side of the map, was very well coordinated from Rain, and they clearly had something cooking from the very start of the game where they had a set plan. And I think that was clearly to snipe out the Des Moines position over next to the Sea cap. Okay.
All right, we can play the replay forward here. You can see that the Delny from Rain does try to block the A cap for a little bit, but is caught out of position there. Takes the face check with the Oh Boy Delny. But the Oh Boy Delny with Colombo support can take that away. And at this point in the match, you should note the ship positions here, where again, the Des Moines and Gearing from Oh Boy have had to smoke very far back in their spawn almost. And we have a very aggressive smoke from Rain on the D line, basically giving them a lot of open space to work with, letting them again put fire into this Des Moines' rear so that he can't reverse. And then you even have John's Colbert with the very floaty ballistics able to arc over the island.
Yeah, they've clearly set up their push to basically go for this sort of box where you're able to deny this very, I would say, strong position. We used to see this position previously be played by something like a Petropavlovsk, but we've seen it be played by Moskvas as well as Des Moines. In this case, the Petro and is banned, but the Moskva is also an option there, but I think it's a bit harder to play purely because the Moskva is actually much bigger and harder to maneuver
I would
into
definitely
that
say
position.
a Moskva would have probably even died faster in this position than
Most
the Des Moines,
definitely.
just because it doesn't have the acceleration. It's a bigger target. Can't hide behind the island as well, even though it does have the larger HP pool and the armor.
Yeah, and I think it's very likely that when he was making the play from this sort of position to going down and into the channel, basically, a Moscow would have been spotted, and you have Ohio sitting here basically looking for that crossfire potential. So the Moscow would have probably taken a hit or two and would have lost most of his HP. Whereas the Des Moines didn't get spotted because he has better concealment.
Yeah, so definitely a strong position for Oboy to take, but not able to protect it because of the lack of the Delny on the 10 line. And you can see here that with the Des Moines position in the smoke, they're able to put so much damage onto that Vermont.
Yeah.
And then from here, you can see the Colombo and Ragnar choosing to push out towards Rain's spawn here. After clearing the Delny is usually a strong play, but in Rain's case, they know it's going to happen. So immediately, once losing the Delny, the Ohio and Moscow push up towards the middle of the map here to coordinate with their home cap push and actually take out the ships from Oboy towards their home cap.
Yeah.
So what I would have liked to see personally is maybe push the Colombo and Ragnar aggressively out in front of the Ohio and Moscow,
For sure.
and try to just maybe block the push that way, and then also maybe be able to contribute across the channel towards the home cap play.
Yep.
But again, very difficult decisions to make in the moment. And again, Rain being a very experienced team, basically knows what's about to happen.
Yep.
So they see their Delny goes down in the A cap. I think instantly they know that, okay, the Oboy ships are going to try to push through A, which means we have to do something now with our ships on B before they die.
Yep. And this is where I also saw the potential of the Ohio actually just turning left into the Thunderdome and probably being safe inside there for the time being. If he had any heals left, that would have been the perfect time to use them. And then maybe he goes to A actually and tries to contest and cap the A cap, because realistically speaking, the Colombo coming back to deal with the Ohio that's fairly low is a completely wasted effort.
Yeah, for
So it would have just been the Delny and maybe the Ragnar if they really wanted to commit that much resources into taking out a low HP battleship that was capping.
For
So
sure.
it's like you're trading resources for a kill and a cap. Is it worth it? It's very difficult to make that decision in the heat of the moment.
Yep. I will note here that even though Oboy is in a very bad position at this point, that they managed to almost bring it back at the end in a pretty deep bloodbath. They'll actually, I think, end up turning this Des Moines gearing smokescreen back around and pushing back in, which is, again, when you're in this losing position, it can be hard to know what to do. But really, the key is to try to make something aggressive happen, try to force the enemy team to make a mistake,
Yep.
and then see if you can capitalize.
Certainly. And I think there's also important to note that sheep storms from this sort of area that were constantly going down this lane
Yep.
were really good, and they were actually super disruptive for the force that's over here, because every minute or so, they had to turn to dodge the torps, and every time that happens, you're losing crucial amount of time that you need to actually make your way back into the caps.
Yep, you're giving Rain time to tick on those caps. You're giving them time to close the point lead, but you can see here that they do coordinate those 3 ships to turn back around and actually manage to capitalize on, I believe, Lucar's Mosfa taking the aggressive push into the middle there. And again, the rush at the end with the Delny getting taken out by John and the Colbert, half a second before the Ram, is pretty crucial. The Des Moines probably would have still died afterwards to the Colombo.
Yeah.
But again, it might have given them time to finish off the Colbert kill here, and then maybe get into the B cap with the Ragnar, but I think both cases, Rain is probably still looking set to win the match.
Yeah, definitely. I think the kill from the gearing in the end was the thing that pushed them over the 1,000 points.
Yep.
So even if they happen to lose it, they still have at least 1 cap ticking for them, which should have been a game securing cap.
Yeah. And again, I think just the key to mention here, Rain had basically all their ships together. Oh boy, had the Colombo and Ragnar out towards the spawn, which didn't contribute too much. So unfortunate for them. They will be on match point here. Rain only needs 1 more game to take away the $40,000 grand prize on North. Before we get into talking about North, I do want to mention that with all the code redemptions so far, code number 5 is expired now. We have 66 trumps to give away, which means my guess was right on the money.
Amazing. Maybe you are Lizan Algai.
I'm the problem.
Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I think I currently have 80 channel points left because I've gotten every prediction
Maybe he's
wrong
not
so
a
far.
knower in that case.
So we win some and we lose some. But as for North, we've seen this map a few times now. You want to maybe give us some thoughts about it? Because honestly, I don't really know what to think.
I think it's probably going to be a similar story. North has been the fastest map we have seen in King of the Sea so far, in King of the Sea 17 International specifically. I'm very curious if these teams will be also into the fast playstyle of the map. Will they actually go with some sort of explosive playstyle? Or are they going to stick to their classic playstyle of being fairly conservative, being fairly safe with their decisions at the start of the game, letting the points tick up and see what kind of options are available, and then exploding with that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that risky double Ragnar play on the cap in the game that we just saw. Maybe Oh Boy saying that it didn't work out too well for them might offer something else. Do you think we see the Colbert pick again? It seems to be working pretty well.
It's been working well. I would like to see it again. I'm not really the biggest fan of Colbert on North specifically. So maybe not. Maybe they have the Svea Gdansk comp out again. I think that is actually maybe a bit more favorable of a comp for North specifically.
I do think Gdansk is banned. I think Oh Boy banned it out. So no Gdansk for Rain, unfortunately. Gangbrang forced to play cruisers and Delmys.
Unlucky.
Unfortunately for him. How about our casters? What do we think about North?
Yeah, I agree. Colbert definitely is not looking too hot on this map. There's a little bit too much open water, kind of like in the rear of the caps. Whereas Colbert usually likes to exploit those islands, get shots over where it can fire from stealth as long as it has spotting. Not so much the case here, as you can see on the, kind of like the northern and the southern like thirds of the map. There's like nothing. There's nothing there, nothing for the Colbert to hide behind.
What I'm seeing, at least in like the last 2 games, it's been early advantage for Oh Boy in terms of caps and positioning, and then out of a sudden Rain does something, and boom, game over for Oh Boy. And on a map like North, when there's 5 caps like this, perhaps Oh Boy should try to perhaps cede a bit more control to Rain early on, save their HP, and themselves cook some sort of play or counter push to try and get Rain off their footing here.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we might see just a 3-0.
Well, if they do have anything cooking, anything spicy, it is definitely the time to use it because they are in match point here in the grand finals, up against the wall. I believe our teams are ready.
That is correct.
It looks like they are.
Any final thoughts?
I mean, go Rain.
All right.
I would like this series to go into an actual best of 5, but Oh Boy has to do something about this, and that's maybe the game when they do.
Yep, I'm definitely hoping for Oh Boy to pull something out. I mean, we've seen them be pretty solidly in control in the early game in a lot of cases, so I'm hoping they can convert that lead into a win here and bring us to a game 4 and maybe a game 5.
Yeah. The thing is, Rain is just like the clutch team. Every single time when it comes down to the wire, they are the team clutching it out, so it's hard to say.
All right, well, why don't we throw it away to the map introduction video for North, and we'll get started on match point here for the grand finals.
The rocky shores of the North Sea comprise the setting for a titanic clash of enemy fleets. These tall evergreens and mossy rocks will soon bear witness to the deafening sound of battle, as two teams vie for dominance of the ocean. This is North. North is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination-style map, with 5 cap points running from east to west. The A and B cap are on the left. C is in the center. D is located on the 7/8 line, and E is on the right. In this new variant, the spawn points for the teams have been moved from a central position to a north and southeastern position on the map. Cap A and B on the left are the most open and accessible on the board. Although located the furthest away from the spawns, there are plenty of ways in and out for destroyers, and there aren't many places for raider cruisers to hide nearby. As the smallest capture area on the board, the most common access to Cap C comes from due north or south, but there is a small access via a channel between the islands on the eastern edge. Raider cruisers can sit on the islands to the north or south of the cap and deny the claiming of this cap until the mid to late game. Cap D provides a challenge for both teams. The islands around the capture point allow cruisers to sit on nearby islands with relative safety, and will likely require teams to position ships to the far east or to push down the channel between the C and D caps to dislodge ships stationed on the islands surrounding the E. New to this iteration and further to the east, Cap E is shifted to the edge of the map. Featuring multiple islands that provide cover, typically teams can be seen pushing battleships or cruisers up the line to try to claim dominion over the cap. However, the many islands within the E-cap provide plenty of cover for cruisers to sit inside of the cap and become an anchor point for both teams. 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play North!
And there it is, everybody. Welcome back. Match point, Rain versus Oh Boy on North. Well, let's say Oh Boy kind of on the back foot here. They really have to win, otherwise they lose. And in terms of compositions, here it is. Rain is bringing Ohio, Colombo, Des Moines, double Moskva, Goodenlu, which is the first time we've seen it, at least on this stream, and then a Gearing, Delny, Z42. What do you see, Zooey?
In the south side of the map, it is going to be Oh Boy fighting for their lives here. They've brought a Kremlin battleship that I honestly forgot existed. Colombo, 2 Des Moines, a Moskva, a Marseille, a Gearing, and the signature 2 Delnys.
Interestingly enough, we see a deployment which is kind of favored towards the central CDE caps, and just a small small pack of ships going for the home pushes here. We might see a Delny on Delny action here, as both of the ships kind of set up to get into the D cap, with Oh Boy taking the more risky approach of actually getting the ship in there. So this might be actually kind of a
Janier.
really rough start for Janier. If he gets spotted.
He does not have RPF, so they're going to check each other at really close distance here. Here it is.
Hello. But, I mean, I would say that Gang definitely has additional support here. The Ohio salvo coming in. Very accurate shot from Genadad Taster here, doing some decent damage.
Hey,
Johnny
so
already half
some
HP.
Gruden Liu airstrikes as well, coming in towards that Delny. Not probably going to be off the mark here. It's very difficult to land those bombs on destroyers.
Gangbarang slightly damaged as well. Has to kind of face check a Des Moines here for a while. Janier gets away with most of his HP, so we see kind of a 1-to-1 HP trade here between these two.
Honestly, a little bit lucky for Oh Boy here that they escaped with so much HP remaining on the Delny. I felt like Rain had a lot more control over that cap, but...
And it seems Oh Boy will take the lead advantage on E, that distraction allowing the second Delny Boto here to get into E without any contests here. Remember, Rain does not have a radar on E. They only have a radar basically on D, with the Moskva not covering the entirety of it.
Yeah, Boto Delny is going to be nice and safe here behind the island as he takes away this E cap. And Taro Z42 is going to come in towards his side of the islands. I'm wondering if his Hydro actually has range on this island. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see when he gets into position.
We'll see, but Boto might be in trouble because he will have to face some Goodenlu airstrikes. He's pushing forward, actually. Boto is making a play for it, and he might actually get caught into a position he doesn't want to stay in here. The Z42 might be able to smoke Hydro him, and he can't really turn out. Quite the aggressive play from Boto here.
Very aggressive coming in from the Delny. He is now hard
spotted,
lit.
yeah. Here comes
Z42
the
can certainly put in a lot of damage with AP if he wants to, and here it is, the Z42 AP coming
German
in
AP
versus that 50mm plating.
Enta definitely has to smoke up here, but remember the Delny doesn't have a smoke, so he's kind of stuck with the Gooden Lu, and the Ohio will take a bunch of damage on his way out. In the meantime, however, Oh Boy securing 2-cap advantage, 3-cap actually at this point, while Rain is sending Gangbarang into the C-cap of things. He is actually spotted by that Moskva's radar, but nothing can actually contest this except maybe some long-range shots from the balance department at B.
Yep. So it's going to be 2 caps to 3.
Do we
Rain.
see this happening actually? Do we see Oh Boy's Des Moines trying to contest the cap here on C at the cost of revealing its position versus Rain's smoke train?
I'm not sure.
No.
I think Rain is just going to take away the C cap. Only 3 seconds remaining, so he will beg this cap even if the shot lands.
Kremlin, however, Oh Boy, Eternal Titan putting the Kremlin just right in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the ship does.
Yeah, he might take a bit of a slap on the face from the Colombo. He is showing flat broadside to it. However, Malimo is shooting ASAP, of course. But this Kremlin will be a bit of a problem for them in the long run. That's a very decent salvo, actually.
Yeah, nice
Goodness
shot
me.
from Malamu. But the nice thing about the Guden is it doesn't need to expose itself to deal decent damage. Obviously, it has access to those airstrikes, along with that unique upgrade. It allows it to deal pretty decent damage from behind island cover.
But look at this. Oh Boy sending the Marseille basically in the face of the Gooden Lu here. It is going to be a hell of a trade. Atroyus will have to try and deal as much damage as possible. Jolonte in the Marseille is showing broadside.
Oh, he actually manages to
283mm
nab a
guns.
sit through the side of the Marseille there. Kind of surprising to me. The Guden's AP performance generally not considered to be very good.
But it is still 283mm guns, so they do have nice pen and nice damage when they connect. It seems so far the Marseille is not really happy about that trade. He also has to face, of course, the dive bombers, which could be a bit of a problem for Marseille long fire duration as well. No DCP for another 30
I think
seconds.
over time, though, we should see the Marseille pull ahead in this trade. The gun damage output of the Marseille
And
is
the
just
Kremlin.
so high.
Kremlin coming in as well with this crazy 457 on the bow of the Gooden Lu. Not doing anything crazy,
Oh
however.
boy, in a big switch up, they are just holding W this game.
Oh yeah, they are. And they will eventually bag the kill on Artorius, it seems.
Yeah, there's nowhere for him to go. He can't reverse. There's a Moskva threatening his rear, so Guden Lu living on borrowed time here. The next Kremlin salvo, if anything, is going to finish off this Guden. Here it comes. Down he goes. The
Down he
Guden
goes
very
indeed.
quickly cleaned off the map. Oh boy, suddenly breaking out the very early game aggression here.
Gangbarang just making a trade with the Delny. Both Delnys already checking themselves at the very start of the game, keep checking themselves even now. Gang seems to be kind of on the low end of that trade, losing a bunch of HP here. And look at Oh Boy, they have actually fairly strong position. That 9-10 Kremlin push is gonna be kind of
very, very well done from the side of Oh Boy. Just I think catching Rain a little bit off guard with the sudden aggression right off the bat.
indeed. Antaro in the Z42 trying to get some damage dealt on the Marseille. I don't understand why he's doing this. He has smokes ready, but he's losing a bunch of HP on this. The Delny is engaging, of course, to try and get some damage. Of course,
Yeah,
the
we'll see
Z42
long
has the
range
quick
shots
smoke.
going into the Marseille. Ooh. Lands a little bit short, so Yolo Ente is gonna snug up against the island here. A couple more long range shots from the Moskva. Still able to find their mark, but he's not finding the citadels that he needs to clean up the Marseille.
And look at this, the Kremlin from Oh Boy using the rather decent concealment to make kind of this turnouts. Not sure if he will actually go back towards D in the channel or try to contest the Ohio. I assume the good play
I
would be
think
to make a
he's heading
turnout now.
straight out towards that. I think towards the DE line. I
The
think if he comes
Ohio
up
might
behind the
actually do
Moskva-
some. Ohio might actually do some crazy damage to this Kremlin here. Here comes the salvo incoming on the Kremlin from the Ohio. Gunner Duster having the flat broadside of the Russian BB.
Yeah, we'll
Solid
have to
BB.
see how this lands.
That is actually
Oh.
so disappointing.
Again, the Kremlin is just so well armored. Oh, he catches
he
Gangbarang
catches
really
Gang.
close. It also
3K.
doesn't find much damage.
Goodness me, what is
These
going
BBs
on?
are just not doing damage this game.
Predictions on the screen, 20% on Oh Boy and 80% for Rain. So far, Rain slightly on the back foot here. Only
Yeah,
1.5
I mean-
minutes before they actually lose that game to
Again,
Oh Boy.
north of this map where the caps take so quickly.
But look
and
at, I'm sorry to interrupt you, B. We have a double
Oh,
smoke
yeah.
train coming in with torpedoes being, like, in the meantime, we got a lot of focus here on the east side of things, but there's also a lot of things going on at B right now.
Yeah, both Des Moines have their hydro running, so theoretically should be safe from the from the torpedoes.
I'm sorry, John, this is no Colbert, doesn't turn on a dime. The Des Moines might actually take a couple of torpedoes here. It looks like only one if he can make that turn, but he's still taking a torpedo.
He will slide into a single
Yeah, he
torpedo
does.
here, yeah. So down to 18,000 HP, John the Ruthless. This is, yeah, definitely not a Colbert.
No, it isn't.
And they will be shoved off the cap, but they were the ones making the aggressive move here. Rain obviously need to do something about this point deficit.
And for Amazing here in the Moskva facing off against the Kremlin, they are, Rain is putting a lot of assets actually against that Kremlin. They are trying to also put the Moskva into D to try and get some cap control. But
mean, the
United
Kremlin-
here just have to push forward and try to get the guns on the Moskva to maybe get a broadside.
Yeah, Formazing really has kind of very, very little angle to play with. United, I'm not sure what the holdup is.
I'm not sure either. This could be basically poke out and kill at this point,
Yeah.
but they are giving the time. I think they just want to play it safe, not risk it too much.
But I mean, if they give him too much time, they're going to lose the Kremlin. And
They
then suddenly
are.
there isn't a threat on his side.
The Kremlin does have a heal running for another 20 seconds.
Oh!
Oh, the sap from the Colombo!
That is an incredible amount of damage to come out at that angle. The Kremlin goes down, and Formazing suddenly, he's perfectly fine.
He is safe, yeah, he's definitely safe. And meanwhile, we see a very aggressive Z42 push here against the Marseille. We might even see a YOLO rush at this point here. The Marseille kind of stuck. Do we see a rush from Entaro against the Oboy? He has the Delny to contend
It's really
with.
just a Delny to play with. I think he's going to beach himself here.
And the Moskva too. The Marseille has the Hydroacoustic running on Entaro. The Moskva and the Delny and the Des Moines might have a solution on Entaro to finish him off at this point.
Yeah, I mean, any single kill on the side of Rain will mean a victory for Oboy, and Entaro is down to 7,000 HP, stuck inside the Hydro of the Marseille for another 25 seconds. They're trying to get the trade on the Marseille, but it's just really only a Delny
12
and
seconds
a
left.
Moskva.
Yeah, 12 seconds left for Oboy comeback here, and I think that's it. Oboy
Yeah.
actually stays in the fight with kind of a crazy control here on this DE side of the map. Really well played for them.
Yeah, I think they really just suddenly broke out like a very heavy early game aggression strat against Rain, who has looked a little bit unprepared for it, and then Oboy will steal away a game 3.
That is actually really good for them because Rain this time didn't really have like the pull the trigger kind of comeback
Yeah.
that they were cooking on the previous games. However, both teams did a really great job on trying to get the control over this crazy 5-cap map.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the strong early game for Oboy here, and I think this displays it perfectly, and they were able to actually maintain the lead this time.
Yep.
Rain trying to pull the trigger on some last-minute aggressive plays there, but not quite working out. I think the Kremlin pick actually worked out very well for Oboy in
Yeah,
this
that
match.
was a textbook Kremlin push, I think. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen a lot of Kremlin in this tournament. Teams opting for the newer battleships, the Libertads, the Lorias,
Yeah.
St. Vincent's, but Kremlin's showing why it was so strong.
Is it common for Kremlin to survive flat broadside Ohio salvos?
If there's any battleship that does it, it's the Kremlin.
It's definitely the Kremlin.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
I mean, definitely a little sad to see Adaster not collect any citadels there.
No.
That may have swung the game, but again, Kremlin with just, I think, the thickest armor belt in the game is able to survive some crazy situations that other battleships won't. I want to say just very impressive push there from Oboy at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Taking very aggressive control over the east side of the map and actually picking up kills there is
Yeah, and I
very,
think
very
the main
impressive
thing
for
is,
them.
unlike the previous games where they generally come out the gates pretty strong, this time they're able to push Rain all the way off of the caps, whereas in previous games, Rain still has kind of their radars and their DDs kind of in good position to retake onto the caps. This time, Rain was pushed all the way back off.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think this
most of
is-
the action was happening about C, D, and E because the A, B cap were basically just two gearing the Moines smoke trains, just
Yeah.
checking E.
I think you'll
other.
find with the home caps on North being so open water with not a lot of island cover around them, that those open water smoke trains do reign supreme over there. And with neither team basically opting to choose like a Delny to go on that flank, for example, to help like force the aggressive smoke pushes, it usually ends up being a stalemate, which Rain tried to make something happen at the end. But you see why the 2v2 smoke trains don't really go anywhere. They radar each other, they have to back off, nothing much happens. Even though Rain was able to step onto the cap for a little bit, wasn't quite impactful. We do actually have the render available, so Baz and I will walk you guys through what just happened and show you Oboy's impressive control. Right, Baz, take us away. Again, very east-focused deployment here from Oboy, just the gearing Des Moines going towards the west, and every other ship basically past the 6 line, focusing on the D and E caps here. Not even very aggressively slanted towards the C cap, Rain being able to take that away. And you can see from this point in the replay, the kind of aggressive positions that Oboy is opting to take, where you have the Marseille pushed all the way up, the Kremlin is already making his way up through the islands here, and then the Delny will be able to move up the 9-10 line in just a moment. And Rain opting to put the Howden Leo here is a pretty strong spot for it because it can get airstrikes very well angled towards the Moskva,
Yep.
where it's dropping along the length of the ship, which is what it wants. And then it also has nice airstrikes towards the islands on the ECAP. But the problem for Rain here is that they don't have anything to actually help hold the Howden's position. Their Ohio is being forced very far away by the Marseille and the Delny farm. And the Z42 basically can't sit on this rock here with the Marseille taking that position.
Yeah, definitely. I think the opening deployment from Oh Boy, especially towards the ECAP, was very strong. I really love the idea of putting the Marseille on the aggressive rock, basically on the enemy side of the cap. And there is really no good way of digging him out of that position other than using the Gooden airstrikes. But then you're basically making the decision of, do you want to make sure the Marseille dies, which no one else can shoot at, or do you want to drop the Moskva with the Gooden airstrike and then try to farm it with the Ohio and the Moskva and potentially the Z42 as well?
If the Ohio wants to shoot the Marseille, he basically has to be playing around where the Howden is right now so he can shoot the bow. And if he's playing there, you have a Colombo, you have a Des Moines, you have a Moskva set up here from Oh Boy on that 7 line that could probably farm him out very quickly.
Yep.
So Rain opting not to take that position because they know it will probably result in their Ohio dying. Instead, force very far away here, and you can see that Oh Boy basically takes a hugely commanding control over the D and E caps here. So Rain opts to actually rotate their Delny towards the east side of the map here, basically trying to play into the Oh Boy push here. I mean, at this point, do you think that there's a viable target for them to farm down, or maybe they would have been better served rotating towards the west?
I think the best target they still have is actually the Moskva that's sitting in the D cap right now.
Sure.
The problem obviously is that they have basically no control over this sort of area, and you really need to have like this box especially in control if you want to be able to farm down at the Moskva. And that is basically impossible to take given the presence of Oh Boy in this position. And from this point on, I think the correct play actually would have been to give up the DE side and play fully for the ABC caps.
Sure. I think maybe if they opted to recognize that, say, for example, this Kremlin is going to be extremely hard to dig away from the channel position, the Ohio doesn't really have a great push back down this line. So maybe bringing the Delny out towards the 4 line, try to force maybe a spot on the Gearing DM smoke.
Yeah.
And then look for the home cap push to flip the 3 caps over there, possibly combined with a kill to flip the point lead. May have been the proper play here, but it's hard to say. And one of the problems for Rain also is that they have these Moskvas stuck on these island positions, where if they don't really have a viable way to push out and through, if they give up control over the 9-10 line and Oh Boy is eventually able to push out through here, the Moskvas are in a very kind of compromised position.
Definitely.
So it's definitely a hard call to make. And really, I think from this point, Oh Boy just had a hugely commanding lead. So you can see as the game progresses here that Rain does try to farm down the Kremlin. But again, farming down a Kremlin is really not the target that you want to be farming down.
No.
It's basically the most survivable battleship in the game. And then North basically showing us why it is the shortest duration map in the pool here with Oh Boy ticking away on the 3 caps there, closing out the game very quickly.
Yeah, I think the amount of caps in this map are definitely something that is catching teams out, even in the finals, I feel like at this point, because you really have to spread your forces quite thin. When you have 5 caps to potentially contest, there will almost always be 1 to 2 caps ticking at any given time. Whereas on the smaller amount of cap maps, where there's maybe only 3 caps, it's unlikely that all 3 caps will be ticking the whole time.
Or even that 1 cap is ticking in the early game, because it's more likely for all 3 to be contested, for example.
Exactly. So that's why we see North games go so fast. And I actually like that Oh Boy played into the strengths of the map and go.
Yeah, I mean, taking the 3 early caps in addition to the Howden kill gives them that 100 point swing from the kill, and then taking on the 3 caps closes out the game very quickly. So very nicely played from them. But now next up, we have basically the opposite coming up. We have Warrior's Path, this very traditional 3 cap layout. How do you guys feel about it?
Man, what an exciting best of 5 so far. I mean, to be honest, we've seen Rain have like really good answers on what Oh Boy is doing most of the time, but a map like Warrior's Path, where both teams have so many strats and very practiced one, that we may see maybe more of a static game, which in the end explodes into some sort of happenstance, and this might go into the way of Rain because they've shown that they can do this quite often.
Yeah.
What do you think, Zuri?
I mean, if Oh Boy wants to do something about, I mean, Rain has looked so strong in the maps where they can just kind of sit around and then pull out the late game aggression. I think Rain has done it time and time again, both against Oh Boy and also last weekend against TWA. So I think Oh Boy, if they want to have a good foothold in this game, they need to get an early game advantage and really push it.
It is going to be a very difficult task for Oh Boy, but I think they can actually do it. And honestly, I'm kind of rooting for them to try and at least bring this into an actual best of 5 to just show that, hey, they have the metal as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Oh Boy have such an impressive tournament run so far, usually executing very good early game strategies. I'm hoping that they'll be able to lock it down here in game number 4 to bring us to a game 5.
Yes, maybe a reverse sweep. I cursed them last time, but maybe this time it's actually real.
Yeah.
It would be cool to go to a map 5 and see the final map be the final deciding factor of who wins King of the Sea 17 internationals and the most important tournament of the year.
Yep.
So,
I do want to note that we actually, in the 3rd place match as well, are in, I think, the process of a reverse sweep. Tevat is currently 2-2 versus Resin in their 5th game.
Oh, goodness me.
So we may have the possibility of a double reverse sweep. We'll see.
Crazy.
But in any case, our teams are ready, so we're going to throw it away to the map intro for Warriors Path and see if Oh Boy can bring it to a game 5.
With more coastline than any country in the world, the nooks and crannies of the shores of northern Canada set the stage for a showdown between opposing fleets. Amidst the barren rocks and snow-capped peaks, only one team will remain unvanquished. This is Warriors Path. Warriors Path is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination-style map with 3 cap points running in a line from west to east. The A cap is on the extreme left, B is in the center, and C is on the far right. Given how the caps are arranged and how risky entering the B cap is in the early game, the most action is commonly found along the 1, 2, and 9, 10 lines. To the west, Cap A now no longer can be safely controlled with radars from nearby islands. Teams will have to rely on smokescreens and additional fire support to gain the upper hand in the battle for this capture point. Capture Area B is a difficult and challenging place to be in the early goings of a game. While the capture point was moved to a more central position, nearby islands still provide plenty of cover for radar cruisers, making this point exceptionally challenging to capture. Off to the east, the C cap offers solid cover for cruisers along the northwestern and southwestern edges, but precious little cover inside the cap itself. The long, narrow channel to the east that connects C to B is a frequent place to see pushes occur in the mid to late game, depending on the board positions of each team. Warriors Path has a long and storied history within the tournament, having produced many close and competitive games. It begs the question, what memorable plays and matches will result this time around? 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play Warriors Path.
Alrighty, welcome to Game 4 between Oh Boy and Rain. Again, Rain is up 2-1, and they are 1 game away from claiming those $40,000. On the side of Oh Boy, though, spawning in the north, they're going to be bringing a Bungo, a Colombo, 3 Des Moines, a Moskva, 2 Gearings, and a Ragnar.
Definitely a strong comp from Oh Boy here coming through, but as we see, Rain has brought an extremely similar comp as what they used to defeat TWA on the same map. That is a Bungo, a Vermont, Des Moines, Moskva, double Svea, Shimakaze Gearing, and a Delny. So let's see how they can put this to work. The Sveas obviously being a very interesting pick with the amount of utility that they can bring. Taking 2 of them is definitely a statement, to say the least.
Yeah, they did bring this kind of comp against TWA as well. I think Svea, again, as we've said before, these ships have surprisingly high damage output against ships like the Des Moines. The 30mm pen is all you need against the Des Moines, and there are 3 of those on the other side of the map.
But at the same time, Des Moines does have such a crazy DPM advantage and AP as well against the Svea. And the radar range, obviously, as well.
And another weakness of the Des Moines, again, that 30mm plating, making it really vulnerable to the ships with that 30mm overmatch. And the 2 battleships of Rain, the Bungo and the Vermont, these are the battleships which feast on 30mm overmatch cruisers. These 2 ships, obviously, they have the caliber to punch through the armor regardless of angle. And one thing to note, I believe the battleships of Rain, Bungo, does have heavy AP. Vermont does as well.
That is a good call, actually.
These 2 battleships are looking for those Des Moines. As soon as they see the opportunities, they will strike. And these have to be intimidating for their side.
We see actually, well, it's happening right now. Bungo's gonna test her opening up on the briefly spotted Des Moines here. The spotter being used. Yolante here might take a face full of That's actually not that
Oh.
bad. It's actually not that bad at all.
Got off a little lucky. I think Dastard's shot was a little bit off, but for a first shot of the game, definitely scary for Oboy to see these
Kind
two
of a
battleships.
warning shot at this point, yeah. And we see Rain actually having a very early cap advantage here. They are both putting the Delny and the Shimakaze in B and A respectively. The Delny not in the radar range of Des Moines just yet. He will actually be right now. The only issue is if the Des Moines shoots, does he actually get slid up? I think Gang
so.
just sticks it.
No, he does have supporting fire. The Des Moines actually does fire now. He's not spotted, so nice little position behind the island here, and they will deny the B cap at least.
At least for now, but once this radar goes on cooldown, Gangbarang can just chill. He's like so close to the edge of the cap here that he can just reverse back into it and get D. Meanwhile,
blind
Shimakaze
fire,
has
I
taken
believe,
A.
onto the Des Moines will not land. Obviously, Bungo with the precision spotter can put out some pretty accurate blind fire shots.
That is true. That is true indeed, but it is gonna be a double cap advantage for Rain early on like this. They don't have the Moskva in the nice position to contest this. They have nothing to contest B at this point. And I'm a little bit afraid that Rain will just basically use that advantage so hard against Oboy.
Yep. Gangbrain gonna reverse now back into the cap. There was only that Des Moines radar. Oh, the Des Moines is spotted. So let's see if the Bongo has another shot available. He does. Also still has the tail end of that spotter plane, so this is a very accurate shot coming into the Des Moines. Let's see if it does any damage.
Yeah, it does. It does a bit more this time.
Nice little hit into the Des Moines.
Yolante doing a great job at accelerating outside of most of that thing, so at least he doesn't hit the bow. But now he's kind of stuck, and now, as you mentioned, he's suffering from the wrath of the Svea 30mm pen here.
Yeah, Svea,
Another
Downey,
Bungo salvo
and
coming in.
The Bungo opening up against the Des Moines, who's unable to escape spotting now.
Oh, goodness me, this could be really dangerous. Not a kill shot, but Yolante definitely has to be careful now. He's basically on the last test of that Bungo's accuracy.
Yeah, Bungo, thankfully for him, does have the precision spotter on cooldown, so the following shots are not going to be as accurate, and Yolante does escape detection finally, but has 15,000 HP remaining.
He has to be careful not to reverse too much, because there's a Vermont Manimu here with the spotter plane active, just trying to get that just sliver of spot so he can get that finishing salvo on.
I don't believe there's anything to keep this Des Moines lit, though, so...
No. The Des Moines actually makes that rotation to try and get away from this kind of position, but he will have to face the Vermont on the other hand if he gets spotted again at this point.
Yeah. Oh boy, finally pushing this gearing and Des Moines up into position, though, on the C side of the map. Should be able to take their first cap of the game, but Rain is already up to a 150-point lead.
It is. Oh boy is trying to have an answer on this by sending the Ragnar into that cap here. However, the Des Moines burning the radar here from Rain won't have any kind of counter to it. The only thing is the Shimakaze, which might try to spot the Ragnar.
And
yeah, and he
Balance
does.
Department, I believe, took a Bungo shot himself down to 20,000 HP in that Des Moines. They had to be so careful of these battleships.
Yeah, maybe Oh boy engaging against the Shima is not the best idea, because now he has to run really far away from the Des Moines return fire here. We even see some long-range Moskvas going in there. Yeah, Oh boy, not really finding the means to actually get the cap control back, and the Ragnar X-Toth here will have to try to dodge these pretty hefty Shimakaze spread.
Torpedoes in the water. Ragnar does have his nitro boost up, so is very, very maneuverable for this little short burst of time.
Let's hope he dodges this, because this could be a massive disadvantage for him on the long run.
He does have a little gap here between the three spreads, so
Finally,
nice and safe for his Ragnar.
Finally, Oh boy picks up the first cap of the game for them. C cap being taken with almost over 240 point lead.
So
on
much
Rain's
of a point
side.
lead already built by Rain. Again, Warriors Path, the traditional 3-cap map. Each cap is worth a lot.
Yolante in the Moskva's radar, about to face Checo Vermont salvo here. This is like, this poor Des Moines has been suffering so much from overmatch. There's nowhere to hide, essentially. The Moskva's radar still up for 5 more seconds. He will be safe, but he is so low, and only 2 heals left.
Yeah, and I wonder if Vermont's actually even try for a little bit of a blind fire shot. They know that this Des Moines is so low.
It is, yeah. Such a hard spot. And at the same time, like, the Des Moines doesn't really have anything else to do here, because the B cap is controlled by Rain.
Yeah, looks like Oh boy is going to answer by just sending the Colombo into the island chain on Warriors Path.
Yeah.
The Moskva is going to actually join him coming from the C cap towards the B cap here. They're trying to get the forces over towards the middle of the map where maybe they can get a second cap.
John the Ruthless in the Svea took a little bit of a hit here. I believe Moskva salvo actually knocked out almost 20k from him, so has to be
nice
careful
shooting
about
from
that.
Reunited. Obviously, Moskva has the nice flat AP, so is able to kind of effective its fire across a huge swaths of the map. Malibu's Vermont also forced a little bit away, but Vermont and Bungo have so much of a crossfire between these two ships. It's so dangerous for any one of Oboy's
It
cruisers.
is, yeah. Oboy has to make a move, however. They really have to get control of at least one of the cap to stay in that fight.
Yeah, time is ticking for sure.
It is
here.
ticking really, really quickly. They are staging the gearing towards A, but the smoke train is already happening and the Des Moines has the radar coverage. It is not safe to go into A right now, for sure. And it seems that our balance department has taken a bit of a hit here, and he is not really into position to help the gearing into any future engagements coming through.
Yeah, that radar is actually not in position here. So Botto does have to just kind of make his way towards the cap, though. There's no choice for him. Predictions coming up on screen now. 29% towards Oh Boy, 71 for Rain. Obviously still heavily favoring the historically stronger team here.
Yeah, Oh Boy is staging the Colombo to get in there. Svea, briefly spotted by the gearing here, will have to face the Des Moines. The Svea, of course, on really low HP, forced obviously to smoke up and conceal John the Ruthless. Kind of the back foot here, missing the radar coverage on the gearing. Yeah, the Colombo is gonna have to make work to get the B cap back. And it is going to be a very daunting task with the Svea in smoke, the Moskva with the angle, and the Delny's torpedoes from Gangbarang.
Yeah, and this is classic Rain gameplay, right? They take these two caps right off the bat, and they just have so much firepower they can move around the map really quickly. Lucar's Svea, obviously, like, you know what? I don't need to use my radar. I'm just going to sit here and farm.
The gearing from Oboy, of course, trying to reverse into a caught by the Des Moines radar, is going to have to disengage and get some cover here. Maybe balance department from Oboy not be really proactive into his own positioning to try and counter that smoke train from Rain. Meaning that the cap control remains into Rain's favor for a while. They push the Colombo in there, but the Colombo is about to suffer so much. Take a Delny Torp as a start.
The Delny Torp right in the nose here. There are Svea Torps in the water as well. Took a nasty hit from the Vermont at ridiculous range.
Here comes the smoke as well, but directly countered by the Moskva's radar. Colombo taking one more Svea torpedoes down to 34,000 HP and ceding the cap control again to Oh Boy here.
Yeah, Oh Boy's racing with Rain here to see who can pick up a kill first, the Colombo or the Moskva. I feel like once this radar goes down, it should be safe, relatively safe for the Colombo.
The gearing finally into that position, but still unable to do it. The Des Moines radar back online again, spotting that gearing so deep into it now as well. This is not looking good for Oh Boy. They have a minute before Rain wins the tournament and the main prize.
And
the
I
Colombo
think that
goes
minute's
down.
gonna come a little bit quicker here. Colombo's gonna go down here to the concentrated fire of
Can
like
they trade the
5
Moskva
Rain
for it?
ships.
The Ragnar with the crazy HE pen here, HE DPM, maybe bags Artorius at the same time.
Yeah, shot coming out from the Bungo just in case. They will pick up the Moskva and even out the points, but still only a minute left for Oh Boy to find something. At least with the pickup of the Moskva, there is no more radar cover for the side of Rain, so the radar of the Ragnar should give it a reasonable advantage over the Delny on that B cap, but he needs to get there quickly.
Yeah, not really looking good at all for Oh Boy right now. They are so pressured on the time here. The gearing actually they decide not to take A and just cede that A cap to Rain entirely for a reason. So the Ragnar, it's all on the Ragnar at this point.
Yeah, with balance department Des Moines forced so far away, there's no way the gearing can hold that position. It is down to the Ragnar here to take away the B cap, but at this point I think it's already too late.
Even with one cap.
Even if they pick up this B cap, there is no way for them to win this game.
That is such a good example of map control coming out from Rain here. They definitely show exactly what they can do. Once they get the cap advantage, they just put Oh Boy on the back foot the entire game. And even with the B cap being flipped, it is still a 45 seconds.
Before Rain claims the first place prize of $40,000, Oh Boy has to pull out, honestly, a miracle here to get anything onto the board.
Svea briefly spotted here by the Moskva's radar. Do we see maybe a Bongo salvo claiming a death strike on Luca? Oh, the Moskva AP just doesn't do anything at all.
And Bungo is actually firing at something else right now. I believe they are targeting Dastard's Bungo, which is at really high HP. So.
It is. And most of the shells don't really do anything. Yes, it's good damage, but that's it. 16 seconds left on that timer, and it looks like Rain will be the winner of King of the Sea 17. 5 seconds left. Anything?
Nothing on
That's
the
it.
board here. Rain with a very dominant final game.
Indeed. I mean, there's nothing really to say at this point. Excellent job for Rain, and congratulations for getting the main prize here. But I have to admit, I didn't see how Oh Boy could do anything at this point. The last 3 minutes were kind of hopeless. in a
Yeah,
way.
I feel like a little bit of a comp mismatch here. Bringing in 3 Des Moines, these are cruisers that are historically so strong in King of the Sea, but when you load in and you see a Vermont and a Bungo on the other side, what can you really do?
Yeah. I would say like a rather anticlimactic end to this best of 5, but what do you guys have to say?
I think it just showed, I think the map basically plays exactly into Rain's strengths.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
they showed why they're so dominant on Warrior's Path, why it's one of their most picked maps. And again, like Zooey said, I think the Vermont and the Bungo pick just is not what you want to see when you load into the game with 3 Des Moines.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 ships are probably the scariest battleships in the game to play against as a Des Moines. They both have a lot of guns. They both have the extreme accuracy. They both have the overmatch. And they showed why they are so scary in that match.
Yep.
Chunking both Des Moines down rather low, and then Rain just playing a very solid control game there.
Yeah.
Bringing the lighter ships like the Svea if they want to make those rotations, but overall, just playing the map in a very smart way. We saw that Rain opted to play very weakly on the east side of the map, basically just holding it down with the Vermont and the Svea, and just focusing more on having control of the middle of the map over A and B. And essentially, why that makes sense is because you can't really contest the map or the middle cap too well from the east. Where yes, you can push through, you can get the channel space, but it's still very hard to actually get a ship onto the cap. And especially because Lucar's Mosfa lived for so long on that rock, Oh Boy was just kind of locked out of the game.
Yeah.
So huge congratulations to Rain there for taking game number 4 here for the grand finals and winning their $40,000 as part of the first place prize and being our COTS champions.
Yes, congratulations, Rain. They are your King of the Sea 17 champions. And honestly, well played, Oh Boy, as well.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Oh Boy as well.
Coming as the 8th seed in EU, regardless of their skill and performance previously in the year. Coming as the 8th seed and finishing 2nd in a fully international tournament is nothing to be ashamed of. And they put on a really nice showing, regardless of what happened in the finals and the final map as well. So good job, everyone. And yeah, I mean, I'm very happy about the victory, obviously.
Mr. Rain Man.
Yeah, I have to be happy for the boys. They played very well, especially after beating TWA. It's always a interesting one because it then becomes like your tournament to lose. If you make too many mistakes, you can still lose it. But as long as you play to your strengths, don't do any stupid mistakes, you should be in a good position to close it out. And they did that exactly and to the T. So well done.
Right. Well, I think we may have John the Ruthless ready for an interview at some point. So hopefully we'll get to speak to him. In the meantime, I believe Resin actually won out over Tivat in the 3rd place match.
Wow. Okay.
To take number 3. So for the first time in a while, we have an NA team at the podium.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that in a long time.
It's been a while. So huge congratulations to Resin for 3rd place, and also congratulations to Tivat for making it to 4th place here. Always a pleasure to see the Chinese teams play with the aggressive strategies. And maybe we can take a look at the bracket in a moment. But hopefully we'll have John here to speak to him. But just to give you guys an idea of where these teams went, this is the group stage where we played in that pseudo-Swiss format. You can see here starting from round number 1. I believe this is Group A where we would have seen... was Rain in Group A?
Yes.
Yeah. So Rain actually lost to SDCN in round 1 of the tournament, which was a huge upset and very surprising, and I think is actually why Rain ended up in the bottom bracket with TWA in the playoffs.
Exactly, yes.
But they managed to recover. They did end out as a 3-1 team, so they won all the rest of their matches, moved on to the playoffs. You can also see Tivat there in the 3-0, showing a very strong position in the group stage, doing a fantastic job there, going to the playoff stage.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that this was a similar situation that happened 2 years ago, where it wasn't Rain who dropped a game in the groups, it was TWA. and that's the same reason why they faced each other in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And so it feels like a throwback to COTS 12 where this happened. So it's always interesting when history kind of repeats itself. And I think actually in COTS 12 the finals was also Rain versus Oh Boy. So
Yeah, we have a very very big repeat there of CODs. Is it 13?
I think COTS 12.
CODs 12.
Yeah. So that's definitely an interesting one. Maybe we'll be also able to show off the playoffs bracket.
This is the other group of Pseudo Swiss where you can see Oh Boy actually squeezing out the 3-1 as well, and Resin as well in the 3-1. So actually none of our 3-0 teams going all the way here, unfortunately for them.
Yeah.
But you can see Oh Boy here had a little bit of a shaky run in the group stage, actually trying to just make out exactly where they lost their match. But they did go 2-1 against Moyai as well, which was a little bit surprising considering Oh Boy's strength. But they did manage to win 2-0 over L7 to go on to the 3-1 spot.
Definitely. And here's our playoffs. So round of 16 started off, and this is all now single elimination games, which means that if they lose a game, you're out unless you're in the semis, in which case you progress to the third place match.
Yep. So just to go over Oh Boy's run here, you can see they started off against ELSR, traditionally one of the strongest teams on NA, taking, I believe, even the NA regional championship, and going 2-1 versus them. So very nice win there. Going on to quarterfinals against Asian number 1, Aris, who they also went 2-1 against. So dropping a game in both series there, but still very impressive wins. Then going on to the semifinals against Tivat, Chinese number 1, and winning out over them 3-1 in a pretty nice series of games that we were able to watch. And then moving on to the final where unfortunately they were 1-3'd by Rain. So very impressive run for Oh Boy, making it to second place here, I think, for one of the first times in quite a while. Rain on the other end of the bracket went 2-1 versus AU, then beat TWA, their long-standing nemesis, and I would say probably the traditional favorites to win the tournament overall. TWA is usually one of the most well-practiced teams, one of the most solid strategy-wise, but we're not able to make it happen against Rain, who actually did not drop a game to them.
Yeah.
Which I felt was a little bit surprising considering that I think TWA's losses to Rain were their first losses in the tournament overall.
Yeah.
So
For them, yeah.
They went flawless the entire tournament until they face off Rain in the quarterfinals, at which point they go 2-0 and are knocked out.
I mean,
that's pretty harsh, but I think honestly fair given the amount of competition you're expecting and the amount of preparation going into the tournament. You, after playing through the entire group stage, you expect these teams to be as good as they can be at that point and play with no no strats being left behind, essentially going all out. So honestly, concept-wise, I think it went really well, and I think we actually have John the Ruthless from Rain ready for an interview.
yes, the famous Colbert player himself.
And surprisingly, one of the few NA players.
That is true.
Yes, he is the one of the only NA players, actually one of the 2 NA players that is playing for Rain.
Yep. All right, John, are you with us?
I'm with us. How are you?
Amazing.
Oh,
Great to hear from you. How are you feeling?
It's early. I mean, we had to get up early, NA, 7 in the morning to play. But yeah, feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm kind of one of those funny comp players who's like switched teams a bunch. But you guys didn't know I played with TWA in last COTS.
Yep.
And TWA in the COTS prior to that. So now I've won a COTS with TWA and won a COTS with Rain. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Kind of
I
funny.
mean, win a COTS with every team.
Yeah.
Go around.
so your win rate's better than everyone else on your team now, right?
That's true.
I don't know about that.
All right, John, were you guys holding out the Colbert pick for the tournament just for the finals, or was that something you guys cooked together at the last moment?
I think, well, we've been cooking Colbert strats for like probably pretty much the past month, but we've mostly done it in trainings. And well, we didn't really want to play Colbert against CWA because they're a very good team. But in the finals here, you get a little bit more leeway with our bans, and you can kind of make it work. against a team that you think might put a ship in a spot that you might be able to farm out.
Yeah, it seemed like it was very
whereas
specifically
with
targeted
TW,
to farm out those like stationary cruiser picks like that Des Moines and the Mosses, for example. So
yeah, that was the idea, and I mean, it didn't actually really work out all that great because both of the pick spots that we were expecting ships to be actually weren't there, so we had to go with secondary picks.
Yep.
But it still worked out pretty well in the end. And yeah, we just didn't want to bring Colbert against like TWA because they're going to play very passively in smokes, right? You're not going to catch somebody in TWA out at Colbert, so you have to play more like control strat. And then, as you saw in those games, they get down to the wire. So
I have a question for you, John. That might also be addressed towards Baz and Keishu here. What do you take about the Swiss format for these cuts, and do you have any thoughts on this in the end?
Well, I think that like the whole format of this COTS is actually quite interesting simply because you get these upsets, right? I don't think you ever get these with like losers winners bracket, simply because if you do have a really strong team that goes down to losers bracket, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're just going to fight their way back into the finals.
Sure.
Whereas like with this new format, you kind of get that upset. I'm not sure if that's what Wargaming was going for, but you definitely got that here. You saw an NA team advance. I don't actually know where Resin ended up.
They ended in
third or fourth.
Yep.
Third,
place.
nice. Yeah. So you see an NA team finally on the podium. I think it's been a while since then.
That's true.
And yeah, so you kind of get that sort of difference, I guess, from the other COTS. I'm not sure. Again, that's what you guys were going for, but it's what happened.
How did you feel about the maps this COTS? I mean, I think we've seen with the different cap layouts, I would say a fairly varied amount of strategies compared to the last few COTS. Were there any maps that you liked playing, any maps that you particularly didn't like playing, or how did you feel in general about the map changes?
I mean, there's a whole discussion that can be done with like cap layouts and maps and the differences between 4, 5, 3 cap layout maps. But generally speaking, like I didn't really do all that much stratting, not gonna lie. I'm kind of one of those players that kind of just shows up and plays the game. I left most of the stratting to Gang Brang and some of the others. So yeah, I honestly don't have too much to say about the maps. But yeah, there's, it depends on like how you like fight on the map based on if you're going for kills or caps, because like some of the maps heavily favor getting a kill, particularly the 4 cap layouts, because you have the team takes 2 and other team takes the other 2, and then you just have a stalemate essentially, and first team to drop a ship is going to win the game. But
yeah, and then I think the last question from my side is regarding the Svea, which I think is one of the cruisers that I think we saw Rain in particular pick out earlier in the tournament than other teams. How did you feel about this ship? I mean, I think I saw you play it a few times.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised at how little it got picked. Svea is like super strong as a cap hold ship and even a flank hold ship, simply because of the 25mm plating. It allows you to play against those heavier cruisers and kind of just tank them, so to speak. Something that like Brisbane or Minotaur can't really do. And then you have those quick smokes. So like with Cerebus, which is like that other kind of like flanker ship that you might put on a flank, you got that long duration smoke, crawling smoke. But once that's done, then you got like a minute and a half, 2-minute delay, or maybe even 3-minute delay until that comes back up. But with Svea, it's quick. You got those 40-second burst smokes, and then you'll have another one in about 15 seconds. So
yeah, quite a bit more flexible. All right. Any other questions for John, my friends?
I think I'll just finish off with, I'll ask John a fairly long question. Okay. Probably.
Okay.
For the viewers at home, how long do you think you have been stratting for this tournament in particular? How long do you think, or how much effort goes into actually making strats, doing the trainings, having the strat breakdowns, having replays, and all of these things? How much effort do you think all of it went into, and do you think it was all in the end very helpful? And how do you think it would have changed if you chose to maybe start preparing early or later?
It's very interesting because I think that this question gets asked like every COTS. And like I've played with TWA, I've played with 07, I've played with Rain now, and every team has like a different approach to how they do stratting, how they spend their time in the game. I found with TWA, very strat heavy, very time investment, and that's like props to them having the time to do that. I very similar with playing with Rain. I normally only showed up for the games. I didn't have time to sit down and do sketches and stuff like that. I leave that to Kinney and Vile, who are great at that. They do brainstorming sessions. And then similar here, Gang spent most of the time kind of coming up with basic strats. But honestly, the amount of time that went into Rain strategies versus TWA strats, much less. And it's more playing on your feet. And I think you see that in the games.
Yep.
Which is what I think makes Rain such an interesting team, in that you go in with a basic idea, you make a strategy kind of based off of the picks and bans, because you can't really prepare, tons of strategies for every potential pick and ban for all the different maps and all the different spawns. So what you instead do is more just before the game, you're going over it with your team, you're looking at like what we think a good strat would be, and then you kind of make little adjustments to it based on the picks and bans, and then you have to play it out when you get into the game. So it's very dynamic in that sense. Whereas with TWA, very much a locked down kind of, okay, we're going to play super controlled. We're going to have smoke on the one side, smoke on the other side, heavy radars in the middle, capping destroyers on like all the caps. And we're going to just hold this sort of strategy for the entire game, point them out, maybe get a kill. Whereas with Rain, it's more like, okay, we're going to look for a pick, kill something, and then just get an overwhelming advantage right at the start of the game. And you saw that with like the strats. Like we played Colbert to try and pick a Mosfa. You play like Destroyer heavy on caps. So we didn't get to do it this time because Klebs and Marceaus are always banned, but there's clever wolf packs that were obviously trained as well.
Yep.
But leading back to your question, the amount of time, I mean, you do trainings probably a week in advance of the actual tournament days. So we were training this past week a little bit, and then training the week prior before the best of 16, best of 8 rounds. So about 2 weeks, I guess, training. And then just some small stratting before. Again, mostly gang. I just don't do it.
Definitely interesting to hear the more like on your feet stratting playstyle of Rain, and I think it definitely showed in the games.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it hasn't changed since I have left. So I'm glad that the Rain strategy of thinking on your feet, playing reactively based on what you see has still stuck by as like a core thing. In the end, congratulations. I think you guys played really well.
I said I had a last question.
Oh,
but
did you? I'm very sorry.
No, I mean, I said my last question was my last question, but I actually have one more that I thought of. That I wanted to ask because I think 4 ship bans is something that we haven't done for a very long time, other than maybe on NA regional cots in a very long time past. So I wanted to ask, based on your answer to this question, whether you felt like the 4 ship bans per team and the more open restrictions kind of played into this, like thinking on your feet playstyle.
100%, because you're able to ban out straight up metas. Like you can get rid of all 12 cams, you can get rid of most smokes, you can get rid of clebers, you can get rid of whatever you want. You can get rid of Petro Napoli, right? Or you can leave those on the board, right? And it doesn't feed into that, okay, you have to play this one meta in King of the Seas to win. You can make a different strategy, and it can work because of the bans, because of the map picks, whatever, if you're smart about it. And I think that, again, that's what Rain is really good at, thinking on their feet, playing all different sorts of ships, not just playing the one.
All right, well, super happy to hear that. And again, big congratulations. Unless our casters have any last questions, I think we'll send you away to enjoy the win.
I do have one very simple question for you, John. After all of this and this whole tournament, how do you feel yourself?
I'm not going to lie. I was not even sure if I would be playing in this COTS.
There you
based on my last performance, I don't know if you guys know, I ate 3 torpedoes on purpose to Bison and died instantly. So, I wasn't honestly sure if I was going to be even playing in this COTS. I got invited over to Rain and joined them because I wanted to play with some old clan mates, BFK, Sep. Some of the old 07 are kind of playing with Rain, so I thought I'd go join them, and I ended up on the team, and it was a lot of fun, honestly. But guys, I've been doing competitive for close to 8 years, pretty much since the start of Supremacy League. I think this might be it. I really should retire from competitive after this one. End on a high note, right?
No,
That's
we want to keep seeing the Colbert. Well, I think that's all from us then.
Yep.
In any case, thank you very much for an amazing show, entertaining games, and congratulations again for Rain. And please just give our kudos to the rest of the team as well, because we can't have them on the interview today.
Yep. All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Take care.
Well done.
We have a next meme.
We have more memes. We have Oh Boy here taking out Ars, Elser, Tivat, and then unfortunately Rain with the sniper rifle from outside the building came in to 3-1 them and ended their tournament run in the grand finals though, which is still quite impressive.
Yep.
So big congratulations to Oh Boy again for the second place finish. We have Resin arriving at the podium.
Perfect. That is the best. Oh, it is so good.
Oh my god.
I mean, I was very hopium for a Resin grand final versus Tivat maybe, but still third place for an NA team. Super happy to see us represented on the podium once again, finally.
Yep.
And maybe we can keep it up in future tournaments. So again, congratulations to Resin for making it this far as well. I think that's it for our memes.
It is.
So no more memes.
Okay.
We have a lot of people to actually wait. Do we have the giveaways to do first?
Let's do giveaway first.
Okay, so just as a recap, we've been giving away a lot of bonus codes throughout the last 3 days of tournament play. Today we had another 5, our last 5. Each one you redeemed gave you a ticket into this giveaway, which is for a total of 66 trumps, as well as 3 tier 9 premium containers. So we'll go ahead and roll the winners here. Once we can show Baz's screen, perhaps.
Sure.
With this beautiful Python script there behind us.
All right. So I have just rolled. We have a list of the spa IDs. I will again share this with Seraphis, who will then translate these numbers into
Mason,
names.
what do the numbers mean? These numbers are...
What do the numbers mean?
These are your... This is basically the number on your profile when you look up your account. This is the number that's going to be in the URL.
Yeah.
So this helps us identify what region somebody is and basically identify them.
Yes. So yes, we have 69 winners. Nice, because we had
Nice.
66 drums plus 3 tier 9 premium containers.
Yep.
Wow, that's actually a flawless guess from you.
Perfect,
On the
yeah.
66 drum.
I pulled out the 66
All
trumps
right.
flawlessly.
Well done.
Okay.
I may have lost every match prediction
But
today,
you nailed the last one, so it's okay.
but I got
My
the
screen now.
trumps. I got the trumps. All right, so Baz is going to go ahead and pull up the names here in just a moment once we stop showing his screen so he doesn't accidentally dox everybody.
Yes. There we go.
Then we will have 69 names to read out in a
Okay.
moment. But while we get the names, why don't we go over our last thoughts for the tournament here? I mean, we had a lot of games to cast on last Saturday, and then every day the day has gone a little bit shorter, culminating in the 2 best of 5s today. Maybe why don't we start with our casters?
Well, I think the games, especially on the last 2 days, last Sunday and today, have been just like absolutely a pleasure to cast. I think a lot of back and forths. There weren't too many games that were like this one, this final one between Rain and Oh Boy. That was kind of a steamroll. There was a lot of even games, and especially the Rain versus TWA series. That second game was just crazy. A lot of these matches, they look like they end in 2-0s, but if you look at the games themselves, they're anything but steamrolly.
Yeah.
I would agree, definitely. A lot of games were not actually like a complete control from one team to the other, and a lot of entertainment, a lot of comps as well. I think John and you, Keishu, nailed it on the ship 4 ban, on the 4 ships ban, when John said you can basically ban a meta, and that's true. We've seen a lot of different comps as well, and all the cards are entertaining, to be honest. I think this one stands out because it was kind of flipped upside down on the Swiss format here, and I think it worked flawlessly. And there was also a lot of nice kind of usual things like Rain versus TWA being kind of a staple of all these last cards happen again. So honestly, really good.
All right. I would definitely agree. I think TWA Rain was probably my favorite series to watch so far. Although we did have some pretty exceptional games today as well with Oh Boy versus Tivat, and as well as a couple of the very close games against Rain that they pulled.
Yeah.
I actually maybe want to ask if we have a second favorite series because of how good the TWA Rain series was.
There
if you
was
guys
a
have any thoughts.
standout game between Resin and who was it? Them?
ATFD, I think.
Oh, it was ATFD. Yeah, between Resin and ATFD, which was like kind of a similar like last second long range shot on a Stalingrad to clutch the 2-1. But honestly, I think the Oh Boy Rain series was like a good highlight of Rain's ability to adapt. And we actually saw their one loss to Oh Boy was when they brought out a standard Moskva comp. They brought the Moskvas, they brought the heavy ships, lost, and they're like, all right, back to the Sveas.
I think some of the series which might have been the second favorite would have been the Oh Boys kind of rampage on all the number ones for the other servers.
Sure.
But also, again, like nice to see an NA team making it into the podium. Meme or not, by the way.
Yeah.
It's still a big win for the NA. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the Resin ATFD games were super interesting.
Yeah.
We saw very close matches in that. And Resin, I think, having their most picked ship being the Delny, I think was very funny and a nice adaptation. You usually don't see NA teams kind of adapting to other servers' meta like that. So I think it worked out quite well for them. But we do have the giveaway names ready now.
Yes.
So we can go ahead and read out our winners.
Yes, we can. So, I guess we'll do something like we did before. So I will go over the tier 9 premium containers first. So the 3 people who have won the tier 9 premium container is UMR logo underscore iron, underscore AMR 021 IR, Black Saber 13.
Okay.
And now on to the Trump winners.
All right.
We have Barba Verde, Joske 86, Mac Ghost, even or Tuk, Cusco, Bekan, Alexei underscore K, King of the Castle or King of Castle, Kev to play, Tim 20, Black the Stab, Altair 13, Wallenstein, Von Schurnitzler,
Sir Schnitzler?
Thornton 101, Mirko Fon, Principito, The Rock underscore LL, Silent X Ghost, 006 ER, Pash O.
This is my favorite part.
Wow.
Are you having a stroke bag?
Maybe.
Just let us know if you want somebody to take over.
1403. I will now copy the rest of the names down into Discord and then
We've got him.
I'm reading along as well.
It's all
So
good.
after Object Cord, we have Sneaky Herman, we have Jelly the Dankfish, we have underscore Tucano underscore Loco, we have William Walls, we have Drachnatier, we have Ereteos, we have underscore. Oh wait, we went through that.
You need
You had a different order.
User.
I need to find where I was again.
Yeah.
All right. So we had Ereteos, we had Clovis 1 underscore 2, Lady with a green bag with underscores in between the words. We have CK89, Rumek 333, Saint Nikolai Pavlov, we have Gabacat Blue, we have Conway 369. Oh, where did it go?
No,
oh,
I
you
just
changed
Changing the
formatting.
text mid-read
I'm
is
getting
kind of
trolled
a
by
hard-
Baz. We have WNF underscore execute worlds. We have Merlin Ashla, Bud underscore Virgin underscore Logic, the Mad Max 74, Zucchini Head. Any of you guys want to take over?
I have no idea where you are anyway. So
Okay,
please
so
keep
I'll
going.
just keep going. We have,
Oh, I got you. Excuse me. All right. So then we have Kilo, we have Versili, then we have Flat Wounds, followed by a Hyper Cluster. Then we have pressed Alt F4 for gold. I will try. That's a good name, actually. I love that. Followed by Mars Funkalbai, then Ernesto Amaro, Malakin underscore CR, Crazy Aussie, Chusmas, Headshot 357, and Mini Polo 826.
Rounding off the list, we have Oka Kashika, Dark Knight underscore Shouto, Gamer AVA, Riftsk, Maboroshi, Comrade Balan, Teriri underscore B, Chief Hugh, Annihilation Z, FBK underscore DSK, Huaxia underscore Sky, Sakura underscore Launa, Tanaka underscore Kanata underscore Yavuz, Yekker underscore Invader, and finally Longo Lago.
Well done.
That's the
Congratulations.
entire list of trumps.
These
that
are
we've
all
gone
the
through.
trumps.
Yes,
Yep.
I went through the tier 9 ones before.
Exceptional.
All right.
Okay, and now we have some other shout-outs to...
We have more names to read.
We do.
Yes, we do have more names to read.
But these are important ones.
These are for all of the people who have been working on the back end, all of the people from the King of the Sea, coordinators, adjudicators, referees, as well as a big thanks to everyone in the video team, the motion design team at Wargaming, as well as all the production, Robin, Zui, Gaishu, all of us.
And
here,
you, Baz.
Thank
as
you,
well
Baz.
as Sarah. Thanks myself as well. All of the people have been doing their utmost to make sure everything runs well. And let's start off the list by going over some of the, well, not some of the, all of the people who were involved from the COTS staff list. So for coordinators, we had Finkso, M. Jester, Ridamel, Tier 10 CV Aquila, which is also a good thing because it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Aquila.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We ain't gonna sing for you, man, but
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Oceanless, Lemon Eagle, The Azure, Istusian, Fries, Mini Hannibal, Mega Allied, Rowley Leo, and then someone else wants to take over.
Of course, you would stop with that name. We have Tanoji_Kotara. We have Mdragic04. We have the Big M145. We have Admiral Quirt. We have Ram. We have Mr. Sock. We have Obi-Wan Cannoli. We have Zernios. We have Ustaji. We have Felix Argyle Purpur.
Then we are switching to the referees
Yep.
with Quincy OVO, I will say it, 27. We have Floppy Z, IIDX, Moin Oiskeel, Retired 420, Tattooed AF, The Lost_Dane, Bob_Bobison, Kill Steel, Onotsi Stark, and Kasumi Tsunsun.
Finally, still going on through the refs, we have Kirisu NJSC, Taipan17, Yamashiro42, Shokaku_Kawaii, Twinkle_Tiao, Zhi_Dan. You guys gave me this one.
Hey, do it.
I can go through that one.
858673992.
Yes.
We have Steel_CNBP, Felix Wuling Fei, Fluffy QWQ, Sup Mysterious, Prince Eugen, my wife, and
Nice.
A_Gallus. And also behind the scenes, doing all the tech work for our website and for our Discord bots, we have Stewie, Track, Titaro, and Painzor.
And of course, all of our Twitch mods in the chat, moderating everything live with a delay.
Huge thank you. That's all of our volunteers. And then, of course, other than the staff volunteers, we have a phenomenal amount of people behind the cameras that you usually don't see.
Yes.
That we
all
would
the
like to
people who
invite
create
into the
B-roll.
room. Come on.
They are shy.
To take a
Look at
bow with
it. Hey,
us.
look at this.
We have a lot of people here. No.
This is all the people behind the whole production, so I know it looks not as good as the full 3D scene, but you know, it is what it is in the end.
So huge thank you to everybody who does the camera work, who does the video production, who makes the tournament run. Can't do it without everybody here that you see on camera now. So thank you all for making
Thank
King of the
you.
Sea 17 what it is.
Well done, everyone.
All right. Well,
Just like that.
we're done.
I mean, what else did you expect?